Mississippi. It's been sold out for weeks. 40,000 plus on hand for the battle between 8th-ranked Alabama and the upset-minded Bulldogs of Mississippi State. Welcome to Starkville. Dave Barnett along with Todd Christensen. Never really has there been a secret as to why Alabama's put themselves in this position, a chance to clinch outright the SEC West with a victory tonight. The reason is the defense, Todd. In the four major categories, they're no worse than 8th nationally in any of those four. Man up front, though, who has emerged as something of a surprise is Michael Myers.
A lot of the attention has gone to the linebackers and secondary for Alabama, but the man up front, Michael Myers, has been outstanding in creating the pass rush. You see the numbers that he has over the last 3 games. He leads the team in sacks and hurries with 7 and 21 respectively. He has been a major key to the success as to why they have all the numbers that you pointed out. He is going to be trying to chase the quarterback from Mississippi State tonight, Derrick Taite. Last week, 13 for 23, 2 touchdowns, 200 yards. He did an outstanding job, but he's got to put on some big-time numbers tonight if they're to win for their first time ever in Starkville.
12-0 Alabama here in Starkville, but in the Jackie Sherrill era, the average margin of victory the last 5, just a touchdown for Alabama. Let's go to the studio and check in with Mike. Okay. All right, and Mike, as you said, Alabama with a chance to wrap up the SEC West with a victory. They were gifted by the surprising result from Auburn. Auburn's 4 overtime defeat to Georgia. So if they win it, they will assure themselves of the chance to take on Florida in the SEC title game in Atlanta. Let's check in with the third member of our crew tonight on the sidelines, Pam Ward.
All right, Dave, when you take a look at the numbers of wide receiver Michael Vaughn for Alabama, you might ask yourself, who is this new guy? Well, it turns out he's a new old guy. Last year as a true freshman, Michael Vaughn got in 7 games. He was used exclusively as a punt returner. He caught exactly 0 passes. This year, Vaughn leads Alabama with 27 receptions, 3 of them for touchdowns, an 18-yard per catch average. And even though he didn't use him much last year, head coach Gene Stallings says he always knew that Michael Vaughn was a major talent and that he'd make a big impact in football, and now he's proving him right. Dave?
And Pam, with Freddie Kitchens struggling lately, important to have a consistent target, and he appears to have that in Vaughn. That's how the West shapes up entering this game tonight. Alabama 8-1, setting their sights on improving themselves in the top 10. The North Carolina upset defeat at the hands of Virginia, something that Tide fans were glad to see, because that's one spot at least they can move up next week. Auburn with the surprising loss in quadruple overtime, now 4-3 in the conference standings. Alabama has won the toss and elected to defer. They're going to kick. William Watts will have a pretty big south breeze behind him, and we're getting underway a couple of minutes late because of a harrowing accident that happened when the game ball was being delivered by 3 parachutists. The first parachutist and the third came down okay. The second one had a crash landing and has just been carted very gingerly off the field, and there is a waiting ambulance set to take care of that gentleman. Robert Isaac is deep, as is the Watts kick. And as usual, William Watts with a touchback, and the Bulldogs will have it from their 20-yard line. Derrick Taite, the quarterback. Robert Isaac for the injured Kiefer McGee, who has missed almost the entire season. Lamont Woodbury, 20 catches, but only 1 for a touchdown. He's their leading target. And the people up front feature Dan Hoover, who gets his first ever start against Alabama, something he has looked forward to his whole career because he's from Alabama. Fairhope, a 278-pound senior center. Much of the year, Taite has been in a quarterback controversy with Matt Wyatt, a redshirt freshman, but Taite has come on in his last 3 games and may go the whole way tonight. To the air on first down, and incomplete, intended for Woodbury. It was broken up by Deshae Townsend. And we'll look at the Bama defense. 3rd nationally in total defense. Chris Hood, a nice compliment to Myers up front, 6 sacks, second only to the 7 recorded by Myers. The linebackers among the better groups in the country. Rudd, 54 stops, 4 sacks. He was a Butkus semifinalist this year. And Kevin Jackson leads the SEC, 5 interceptions. Maybe more impressively, he's second on this defense in total tackles. With 49, he trails only Wayne Rudd. First carry of the night. There's a lot of room for Isaac. Robert Isaac chased down by Staten at midfield.
Took some chances with a blitz in this situation. Watch to the right of your screen. Rudd goes on the blitz. He gets picked up, and there's an awful lot of grass. Nice cut by Isaac. Does a great job of the open field, but take a look at the speed of 6'3", 280-pound linebacker from the outside, Ralph Staten, who comes and knocks him down near midfield. Almost strips the ball away from him. Good game by Isaac.
28 yards worth for the 5'8", 166-pound junior out of McComb, Mississippi. Isaac not too winded to take it right off right tackle, and a hair short of midfield, a gain of about 2.
Well, the problem, Robert Isaac, is size, 5'8", 166 pounds. Ideally, Mississippi State would like to use him the way Florida State uses Warwick Dunn. Get him some balls out of the backfield, let him have some kick returns. He's not a guy that can carry the ball 20, 25 times a game, but of course that's what they had in Kiefer McGee earlier in the season. As you pointed out, that's just been a major loss. A young man who was on pace to break the SEC record for rushing in a season before a knee injury ended his season.
Jackie Sherrill will alternate Isaac with a power back, Tony Buckhalter. Isaac, though, has him set up with a 2nd and 8 from midfield. We've got a timeout already. 13:49 to play, just underway for Starkville. Bulldogs burn an early timeout and face 2nd down and 8 from midfield. And a give to the big back, Nakia Greer, 227-pound fullback, a junior from Hernando, Mississippi, with an eye-popping per carry average time, nearly 8 yards per game.
A lot of that is deceptive simply because of the fact that he's not afforded that much opportunity. And when he does get the ball, it's a surprise to anyone. Not unlike, say, in the old days in the wishbone when you had wide receivers getting 30 yards a catch. They weren't afforded that opportunity. When he does make the most of it.
Picks up 4, and it's 3rd down and 4. Bama, a tough defense to do just about anything against, including convert 3rd downs. They allow just 21% for the year. Taite to the air, and right in and out of the hands of a wide-open Jeremy Jones. No excuse on that one, right between the numbers, and they'll have to kick.
What happens is, take a look at Jones. What he ends up doing is he's trying so hard to make the catch that he just cradles it. Pretty good protection on the part of the front line for Mississippi State. There he is with a 5-step drop, looks to his left, able to get the ball off. Myers hits in the back of the head, but still plenty of time.
And they're going to go for it on 4th down, or at least show going for it. Now, Matt Wyatt dropping back at first to shotgun, and now all the way to deep punt formation. Had they perhaps seen a different defensive look, maybe they would have carried out a 4th down attempt. As it is, a fair catch by Townsend on just a 28-yard punt by Wyatt. Gene Stallings, 7th-year head man at Alabama, hoping for his 69th career victory there. His offensive lineup, Kitchens, who's struggling at quarterback, Riddle, but we'll see a lot of Shaun Alexander, and Trevis Smith for the injured Ed Sissom at fullback. Hape, a good blocking tight end who's caught 10 passes, 1 for a score. LaRon White for the injured Brendan Meadows at right guard. Meadows limited to just 7 snaps with an injured shoulder against LSU. Then Hape in motion. 1st down give is to Riddle, who tries the middle with very little opening up. The Bulldog defense last in the SEC, but they've been injury-riddled this year. Gregory Favors leads them with 6 sacks, 19 quarterback pressures. LaCoste with 101 tackles, 50 of which have come in just their last 3 games. And they go with 3 safeties. 2 of them they call the dog safety. Roberson and Brown. Nelson, the free safety, is a true freshman. They've had to change their alignment because they've had major injury problems, particularly up front where they lost James Greer for the season early on. But they are very aggressive, and they try to come after Kitchens. His catch by Calvin Hall, who is run out of bounds at the 28, short of the 1st down marker.
Be interesting to see how this is going to work with 5 defensive backs. The reason for that is that obviously with Kitchens' struggles over the last couple of games, 37% completion over the last 5 weeks. You think that they want to put 8 in the box and do what they can to stop the running game. I think this is going to be a good opportunity for Kitchens to see what he can do in terms of catching the ball, or throwing the ball rather, because he has struggled. He's got a good opportunity to make some things happen in the play action.
One thing he does do generally is win. Needed 1 on 3rd down, and Riddle's not going to get the corner turn. He may lose one as Adesala Badon along with Eric Brown there to cut off the left side for Riddle.
Watch Bᴜʟʟᴅ to the left of your screen what he does. Don't try and go down and make the tackle, but instead you have the sideline as a friend. Push him out of bounds right there. A lot of times you'll see the defensive guy get his machismo up and want to make a big hit and miss him, or not let him get tripped up and enable him to get that extra yard. Great play by Bᴜʟʟᴅ to utilize the sideline as a friend.
Prior to the snap, movement, and everybody in a maroon jersey pointing at everybody in a white jersey. Doyle Jackson is our referee.
I was just about to say, if this is against Mississippi State, this is really unconscionable. Well, that's a good thing, because you've got to figure, Dave, you're in a situation where you got 4th and 1, 4th and less than 5. If you're on the front line of the punt return, you've got to know that that's one thing that they're going to try and do, is try and draw you off sides.
Offense, still 4th down.
Still 4th down. And on 4th and 7, Jackie Sherrill will hope that Isaac, with any kind of a return at all, can turn it back over to his offense somewhere near midfield where their first drive died. Stockton's kick, fair caught at the 39. Not quite what they hoped for, but not bad. 38-yard kick. 0-0 early on in Starkville. Bulldogs in the Tide, and Mississippi State takes it for the second time on offense, just short of their 40-yard line with 12 minutes to go, first quarter. Michael Myers and the Tide defense leading the Southeastern Conference in all 4 major categories. Tate showing why they fear him, what can happen when all else breaks down. He can still make a play, and he's close for a first down, should have it. Call it a gain of 12 before he's run down by Buckner, the middle linebacker.
Things that have been in vogue this year, it's been stated ad nauseum regarding the quickness and speed of the defense. Well, that's all well and good, but what has to happen is that people have to be smart. Inevitably, when you've got all that speed on defense, you have a tendency to over-pursue. And great athletic quarterbacks like Derrick Tate can take advantage of it if they have their heads up and they're able to see the field.
Just in Tide territory. Out of the eye, and the first man through is Greer. Runs right into the tackle by Michael Myers. We'll check in with Michael Tirico in the studio. Mike?
Oh, David, this McDonald's breakaway takes us out to Oregon. Wet night, tough night for Steve Mariucci's team. They did battle back, but Jerry Brown of Oregon rips off a 33-yard run, set up a touchdown. Ducks lead by 13, late third.
And Eugene's own Todd Christensen heartened by that result.
Thank you so much. Played my high school football there, Autzen Stadium.
We were given 2, and Buckhalter gets the call for the first time tonight. Much bigger back, got about 45, 50 pounds on Isaac. They try the middle again, reach about the 43. Buckhalter, a junior from Daleville, Alabama. Quite a few Alabamians on Mississippi State, and vice versa. There are 9 Mississippians dotted along the Alabama roster, so it means a little bit extra to that group.
Pretty good chunk of Alabama's defense is courtesy of the Magnolia State.
Including Myers. Some of the better performers they have. Rudd as well from Mississippi.
Townsend.
3rd and 5. Tate with 3 wideouts to pick from. Rolls, delivers deep for Lahidi Grant. Can't quite make the play. Well covered by Fernando Bryant inside the 10.
One of the things that sets apart the secondary for Alabama is their ability to cover man for man. Of course, Gene Stallings was the defensive backfield coach for the Dallas Cowboys in the 70s, some of their better years. A lot of protection, buys time, throws on the run, but Bryant with him step for step. If he doesn't get the interception, he makes sure that Grant's not going to make the catch. Excellent job by number 25, Bryant.
Marker thrown, and Doyle Jackson will tell us about it.
Holding by the offense is declined, 4th down.
I'm surprised at this, and I really am. And that's because the big mismatch on the field is Alabama's defense versus Mississippi's offense. I would think that given the field position, they would want to move them back 10 yards, see if they can come up on 3rd and 15, blitz, maybe get a pick, maybe get a fumble. I really am. I'm surprised here.
Well, again, Wyatt, the backup quarterback in the game, starts under center, now backs up to shotgun. Last time he did this, all the way back to punt formation. This time he got off a 28-yarder. This one a little bit better. Townsend with a fair catch at the 8, and the field position game works for Mississippi State now on a 36-yard kick by Wyatt. Check out NFL action Sunday night on ESPN at 8 p.m. Chris Carter and the Minnesota Vikings try to keep their playoff hopes alive. They'll travel to California and take on Tim Brown and the Oakland Raiders. Hope you can join Mike Patrick and Joe Theismann. Sunday night NFL. So Alabama will start from just across their own 8-yard line. Calvin Hall coming wide left. Michael Vaughn wide right for Freddie Kitchens. In the offset eye. Give to Riddle, who has some room this time. Run down by LaCoste with a late marker down. Gain of about 14 should the play stand, and LaCoste shows his speed running down Riddle from behind.
It appears that the wide receivers for Alabama were blocking a little too well.
Well, that's twice we've seen unusual speed by linebacker Staten, who ran down Isaac on the first Mississippi State possession, and LaCoste, who does so here to Riddle.
The foul was holding by the offense. 10 yards from the spot of the foul. Still first down.
Gene Stallings well aware of what this game meant, not only in terms of his team taking care of their business, which they've done, as you see, more often than not in his 7+ years at Bama, but also because he is more aware than most what a win would mean for Jackie Sherrill. Gene Stallings, an assistant at Alabama when Jackie Sherrill was playing 7 different positions under Bear Bryant in the mid-60s. He has never beaten his alma mater. 0-7 lifetime. Couple of those games when he was at Texas A&M. Big room for Riddle. Cuts back in the clear and to the 40 before Tim Nelson wraps him up. A gain of 28 yards for Riddle. And now those, Todd, who may wonder, well, where's Shaun Alexander? Why is he not starting?
Well, one of the reasons for that, obviously, is this young man has been outstanding this year. But give credit to Chris Samuels and Will Friend. They just caved down that side of the line, enabling Riddle to get into the secondary and make some moves. You know, you and I had talked about this. Frankly, I don't understand it. This young man didn't play much in the first 4 games of the season after getting nearly 1,000 yards last year. Now in the last couple of games have been the big totals that he's had, over 800 yards, 190 of those against Tennessee.
Bulldogs more than ready this time. Leading the assault on the left side of the defensive front, Michael Lindsey.
Getting back to Riddle, though, this is a young man who has been outstanding. He finally gets his opportunity. You recall earlier in the year against Kentucky, and what does he do? Scores 4 touchdowns in 1 quarter. I mean, this is somebody who can play the game, but because of the fact that they have some talented people at tailback, he's not afforded the opportunity to be the man.
Nice thing from Stallings' perspective is whichever way he goes is the right answer. He can't lose with those two. Kitchens just overthrowing Michael Vaughn. Vaughn with a step that time on Chauncey McGee.
Well, you know what they say, closeness only counts in horseshoes and drive-in movies. Kitchens has plenty of time to throw. He has man for man, has exactly what he wants. He has Vaughn in the corner wide open, throws it just a little bit too far, lays out but can't come up with it. And in Kitchens' place, it's kind of a struggle. He's been struggling over the last 5 games, as we pointed out, even on the season, right at 50% in this day and age of the passing game. That's not outstanding by any stretch.
And Michael Vaughn struggling as he makes his way to the Bama bench. He didn't like the way he landed that time. 3rd and 10. Kitchens chase. And dropped by Favors. 7th sack this year for the junior from Atlanta.
Well, Favors is the man for Mississippi State. He's somebody that really puts the big-time pressure. 6'3", 228 pounds. Look at that. He actually spins up. Now, in his persistence, comes back to make the play. You saw him actually get pushed completely out of the screen by the left tackle. But through sheer determination, comes back for the sack.
Stockton with the wind behind him. That's a tremendous bounce. Isaac now regretting the fact that he ever let that one bounce. with the roll. 51 yards by Stockton. Mike Tirico, what you got?
Get ready to start the fourth quarter in this important game in the Big 12. Yes, it's cold, but Colorado's defense has done the job. Ryan Olsen here sacking Brian Kavanaugh. It is a 12-0 Buck shutout right now. Nebraska at the top of this half of the Big 12 beat Iowa State, even though Troy Davis had 138 yards today.
Colorado more than ready, looks like, for their shot at the Huskers.
Good luck.
Only Arizona State has had any luck against them this year. Texas taking a big step toward a Big 12 title game with their victory earlier today at Kansas.
Don't you think that just looking at that field there in Boulder, that the players are saying to themselves, hey, yo, who's making this schedule? The middle of November in Boulder at night? Come on. I mean, that's some serious frigidity.
Problem with the play clock. And as they continue to wind that down, Mississippi State will have a 1st and 10 from their 13-yard line. Really just a battle of field position so far. Alabama has started inside its own 10. This is the worst starting field position the Bulldogs have had thus far. Now an official timeout as Jackson will have to confer with his cohorts.
Well, Robert Isaac certainly should have made that catch. That cost him about 20 yards in field position.
Alabama-Auburn next week on ESPN from Birmingham. LSU still with Arkansas remaining. Auburn could have made that game mean a whole lot more if they'd held on to a 28-7 lead earlier today against Georgia. But in 4 overtimes, the Bulldogs prevailed at Auburn, 56-49.
And Jim Donnan obviously is a happy man, and give him a lot of credit. Boy, he has had one kind of a struggle this year. Very beleaguered head coach.
Offset eye for Taite. Throws off the roll and incomplete. Intended for Grant. Coverage by Townsend.
One of the things they're doing, obviously, with the moving pocket is to utilize the mobility of Taite and to take some pressure off the pass rush. The problem is that he has been very inaccurate thus far. You see him slapping the hands, and he's a little upset that the break wasn't quicker on the part of his wideout.
Derrick Taite earlier this year sprained his right medial collateral ligament against Louisiana Tech. Didn't play against South Carolina. That ended the streak of 25 consecutive starts. And then in the loss here to Georgia, the Wyatt bandwagon started to roll a bit as Taite was pulled. Wyatt played quite a bit, and they have exchanged the starting role off and on. Markers down here as Isaac is run out of bounds at the 23-yard line by Cedric Samuel after a gain of 10 should the play stand. Flag thrown all the way across on the far sideline, though, just as the ball was snapped. And offsides Alabama.
Well, they'll certainly refuse that and take the big gainer. Gene Stallings isn't very happy right now with what he sees as being a little bit undisciplined. I thought it interesting. You know, you pointed out at the top of the show all of the defensive statistics that Alabama has accrued thus far in the top 10 in all the 4 major categories. And I asked him, I said, what? I said, you know, is there any way that they can improve? And he frankly said yes, which, you know, the guy's never satisfied with his defense.
Hey, there are some tough standards over there. Coordinator Mike Dubose says one thing he'd like to see is more pressure from the defensive line. They would just as soon not ever have to blitz if they get the desired pressure from the front 4. So always looking for ways to improve. We're at Scott Field, sold out in Starkville. Dave Barnett, Todd Christensen, Pam Ward in a so far scoreless first quarter with about half the period still to go. It is good for a first down for the Bulldogs. Neither team has threatened thus far. We expected a low-scoring game. Haven't been surprised so far. From the offset eye, Isaac trying to pick his way through the middle to about the 27-yard line. Buckner, the middle linebacker, made the contact.
Interesting to gauge, at least early on, the play calling of Mississippi State. Very conservative. You know, Jackie Sherrill pointed out that if they could be even coming into the fourth quarter, he'd like his chances. You're absolutely right. This is not going to be a game in the 30s or 40s. But the thing that Mississippi State has to do is not turn the ball over. If they can play some decent defense and get into the fourth quarter down by a touchdown or even, they got a shot at a giant upset.
Since '94, in fact, when they have more takeaways, they are 12-2 in those games. 2-11 when they have fewer takeaways. This one may lose a yard or two. Staten again showing that great closing speed, joined over there by Jackson to make the stop on the 𝐂𝐫𝐬𝐬.
When you're going against a defense that's known for its speed as Alabama is, the thing you don't want to do is you don't want to go east and west. You want to go between the tackles and see if you can beat them up. You can see they lead the SEC in every category defensively. And the issue with that is the fact that Alabama has tremendous speed. Both Tommy Tuberville, and Jackie Sherrill said that they feel like this Alabama defense is better than the one in 1992 that won the national championship.
Well, in fact, Sherrill goes well beyond that milestone. 3rd and 7 from the shotgun, incomplete. And he had some confused receivers that time. I'm not sure if either one was quite certain whether he was the intended target or not. He had Grant over there, in addition to Matthew Butler.
A little pressure here now on Russ, second in the nation in punting, but he is going into the wind, averaging over 46 yards a punt. But as I say, you know, the wind has been with Alabama, and you see the numbers right there last week against Kentucky, 72 yards. Wow, that's a satellite.
Andy Russ leads the conference, second in the nation, 46.6 per kick. And that may be his poorest effort of the year, only to the 40 of Alabama. Just 33 yards, 6:09 to play, first quarter.
Andy Russ has a bad drop here. Take a look at the ball and as it goes down. We mentioned second. Now watch slowly. Watch now as the ball drops. Look at how slowly. Look at it turn over, and he actually ends up kicking the point of the ball. Ouch. Those of you that are big football fans remember some 11 years ago when the Chicago Bears played the New York Giants, and Sean Landon had that ball that he almost whiffed because of the wind. That's what happened to Russ in that situation.
Hunters want to turn the ball over, not that way. First catch of the night by Vaughn, and he's to the Bulldog 45-yard line with a gain of 14.
Confidence builder for Kitchens, and something that Mississippi State doesn't do often as they go into the zone backpedaling. Vaughn does a good job of finding the dead spot, making the catch, evidently able to overcome. You know, I'm thinking that he probably either had a slight bruise of his ribs or might have knocked his wind out. I know that feeling when you lay out. You know, sometimes it feels like your internal organs have moved, but he's been able to shake that off and come back.
Yeah, no problem reaching up for that one. His 28th catch of the year. Top number for the Tide in their 1st and 10 in state territory. Short slant in and out of the hands of Hall. They rule it incomplete. Bulldogs for a second hoped he had taken a couple of steps before coughing it up on the hit by Badon.
Well, evidently the offensive cognoscenti of Alabama have seen something, because after watching Dennis Riddle run up and down the field earlier in the drive, now they started this drive with 2 straight passes. They not only want to give Kitchens some confidence, but they want to loosen things up in the box and get some Mississippi State people out of how crowded they have been thus far in the first quarter.
Well, as you see, Riddle is out, and Shaun Alexander, he of the record 291-yard performance at LSU last week. Kitchens play fake to Shaun deep, way too deep, intended for Calvin Hall. Shaun Alexander's night in Baton Rouge, amazing if the only number you see is that 291. Even more mind-boggling is if you break it down by halves. In the first half, 1 carry, 17 yards, it was a touchdown. In the second half, 274 yards.
Is that a record? For 1 half, I mean.
Per half.
Because I know that no one has ever rushed for 400 yards at the Division I level.
I don't believe it's a record, but it's got to be awfully
close. Yeah, that's amazing.
14.6 per carry, yet another Alabama single game mark. 3rd and 10 for Kitchens, and he'll swing it out of the backfield for Travis Smith, and the fullback cut down by LACOSTE.
That is a big-time play by LACOSTE. You pointed out that he's a linebacker that can run. He's already gone over the century mark in terms of tackles. Watch to the right of your screen. This is open field now. Fullback has a good opportunity. If he breaks the tackle of LACOSTE, he might get the first down. LACOSTE says, I don't think so. Head-to-head, you're going down.
Paul LACOSTE, 21 stops in their game against LSU. That's the best for any SEC defender all year. A very high kick, about 4 yards too deep.
Just missed.
And in the battle of field position, Bulldogs again will start from their 20.
And the crowd's appreciative. They understand the difficulty they're up against, prohibitive underdogs. But of course, I'm guessing that over the last week, whenever a game like this or any athletic event has occurred, what's the coach been saying to his team? Remember, Holyfield Tyson, Holyfield Tyson. I mean, that's been metaphorical for how many different teams throughout the nation?
Oh, probably several thousand by now.
Indeed.
Derrick Taite still looking for his first completion. He is 0 for his first 5. Ready to go over the middle, and he's 0 for 6. As that one is broken up by Bryant, who timed it perfectly coming from in back of Grant. Let's again check in with Mike Tirico.
Dave, Minnesota's lost its last 13 Big Ten games in the lame duck bowl of coaches. Great performance thus far by Robert Holcomb of Illinois. 254 yards, and that touchdown brings the Illini within 3 at Minnesota.
Telling you, all you have to do is announce that your coach isn't coming back, and you're guaranteed a win. Kentucky has not lost since it was announced that Bill Curry wasn't going to come back. Look what Purdue does after it's announced that Coach Coletto is out. They upset Michigan.
Indiana almost pulled off a huge upset today.
Taite again showing the running threat. That's been the best thing State's had so far offensively. Gain of 9, run out by Townsend.
Well, what ends up happening a lot of times, and I wonder, quarterbacks at the collegiate level, what are they considered? Are they option guys? Are they drop back guys? I know that Derrick Taite has taken a little bit of criticism over the last couple of years for his unwillingness to do just that, because he fashions himself now a drop back passer, because of course most of these young people in college realize that to get to the next level, being a wishbone or an option guy is not going to cut it, so they don't want that moniker put on.
Well, on the other hand, at that next level, they do appreciate a guy who can avoid the hit. Not a bad talent to have at all. This is easily good for the first down. Tony Boughhalter to the 32.
Well, you're right about that, but then again, see, the issue here is that if you are a guy that breaks out all the time, rolls out, or takes off downfield, inevitably you've got the people at the professional level saying, well, you know, he can't get away with that in the pros, as opposed to being willing to model those people. They want him self-made right away, the quarterbacks now, or else they're going to go with veteran guys.
You're in a tough position if you can't move at all, or if you can move too well. Funny how that works. Grant in motion. There's the first completion for Lahidi Grant, close to the marker. Tackled by Fernando Bryant after missing his first 6. Derrick Taite finally with a strike.
Well, in fairness to him, some of those were drops, but Lahidi Grant is someone that needs to come up with some big plays. 4 touchdowns, the most of any receiver from Mississippi State. Cuts up the field, and Bryant drops him. That's a good throw, putting it on the money there for the out route.
2nd down and 1. Boughhalter remains the tailback in the eye. First man through is Greer, who squeezes between center and left guard. Should have enough to have the first down. Touched on it briefly earlier. Jackie Sherrill comparing this Alabama defense to some of the greats ever. And the obvious question everybody's asked all year, are they better than 92? And Stallings has reserved judgment until the end of the year. Sherrill says not only are they vastly superior, in his opinion, to that group, because they're faster at every position, he says they're the best he has seen in college football since his Pittsburgh team, 1980, which sent about a dozen to the NFL.
And what a surprise he'd use that as an example, huh?
Shocked he could name all those guys off the top of his head, huh? Well, they've got to use their second timeout. Taite to the line, changed his mind, and we'll break with 3:02 to go in a scoreless first quarter in Starkville. Quick snap, and Nakia Greer, the ball carrier, reaches the 48-yard line on what was the first down and 10. I'm running down in the first quarter, and Boughhalter shaken up.
Well, he's in the unfamiliar position. Of course, the tailback isn't one who does a lot of blocking. That time, Boughhalter's doing the blocking for Greer. He's down.
Boughhalter and Isaac filling in at what was Kiefer McGee's tailback position. Jackie Sherrill yesterday said he thought that injury probably has cost Mississippi State at least 2 victories this year, although he compliments the way Isaac and Boughhalter have both filled in.
Right there, you saw at the end, Michael Myers hits him in his leg. Take a look right here at the left leg at the end of the play. Watch, Myers is going to come across and hit it right down there. You can see right there, got planted a little bit awkwardly. It appears it's his ankle.
Well, as they check on Tony Buckhalter, let's check in on Mike Tirico again.
And we'll check in on what's going on ESPN2. Dave, Florida State extending their lead. Warwick done a little school history here. Takes the toss and goes 78 yards for the touchdown. His third of the night, 47th school touchdown. That's a record, breaking the record previously held by Greg Allen.
So the Seminoles gearing up in fine fashion for their date with Florida.
And it couldn't happen to a nicer person. His family problems have been well documented. He really is the head of the household. To have the kind of success he has had this year, it's well deserved. Quality young man.
Isaac back in at tailback, and he tries the left side. Keeps the legs moving. And at last brought down at the Alabama 49-yard line by Kelvin Sigler.
Good opportunity here. At the risk of Sigler, a reserve, gets a number of opportunities to come in the nickel and dime packages for Alabama. Last game that we had, he had a couple of sacks out of blitzes. Good opportunity here, 3rd and 1.5 to do the unpredictable, Dave, at midfield. Good opportunity for play action pass and to go up the field.
And if you're Mississippi State with nothing to lose, why not throw out every unpredictable thing you have in your playbook? If not now, win. 3rd and a long one. They stay predictably on the ground, and the power back Greer should have first down yardage to the 46.
Here's the advantage of being 5'10" and between 225 and 230. There were some arm tackles that could have brought him down a little bit farther back. If you opt with Isaac, of course, you know his quickness, but he's only 166 pounds. Greer, with his power, able to bust through those arms and get the first down for the Bulldogs.
Mississippi State at the moment without Buckhalter, but playing the field position game, also playing the time of possession game pretty well. It normally favors Alabama big. They average 16 more snaps per game than the opposition. On the little hitch, Woodbury unable to quite get away. That had big potential. As it is, they may have to settle for 10 and a first. Sigler hanging on for dear life as Lamont Woodbury threatened to take that one all the way.
Woodbury has only caught 20 balls this season, and that causes a little bit of consternation with Coach Jackie Sherrill at 6'1", 225 pounds. They had anticipated that this, being the big type receiver, that he would have come up with more big plays. It really hasn't happened thus far. They're really waiting for him to break out.
Hurt an ankle last week. It may not be this week that he breaks out. Grant went in motion. Big yardage for Dennis McKinley inside the 20-yard line. Run down by Townsend on McKinley's first carry of the night. He breaks it for 20, and he almost broke it for 6.
Misdirection. Take a look right here. Everybody goes the other way. Over pursues. You can see right there, Dwayne Rudd ran right past him. Big man gets into the secondary. Hey, man, I don't get that many opportunities. I want to do whatever I can. Take a look at the flow. Everybody goes the one direction. Rudd actually overran it, breaks the tackle of Sigler, and if Townsend doesn't get down by his knees, it's a touchdown for McKinley, young man from Weir, Mississippi.
Biggest hammer they've got back there, 6'2", 230. Isaac squeezes through the middle, touchdown.
I was like you, Dave. I'm sitting here. Oh, okay, nice game. Oh, my goodness. And all of a sudden he busts out. That had kind of a Barry Sanders quality to it, where he's in the group and you're not sure. Wow. What an effort by Isaac.
Yeah, the thing about those little guys is you can lose them down there.
Yes,
they disappear into the mass of bodies, and Isaac squeezes through. And with the kick by Hazelwood, 7-0 Bulldogs.
Well, that was the theory that Hank Stram used to have with regards to his Mighty Mites when he had Robert Holmes and Mike Garrett. Take a look here. Isaac straight ahead, and everybody looks and acts like, well, I guess we've got him. Rudd's got him. Jackson has him. No, I guess not. He broke through all the arm tackles. That's why you don't assume. Ozell Powell was another one that looked like he had a piece of him. Basic blocking. Take a look. Arm tackles 1, 2, 3. And finally, the fourth man can't get him. Isaac bursts into the secondary, and he's got to be a happy young man.
So 17 yards later, Isaac has the Bulldogs off to a surprising early lead. As we return to Mike Tirico. Mike?
For the folks who were at a game earlier and didn't see the end of the wildest Southeastern Conference game of the day and perhaps the season, Damian Craig shut down on 4th down and 4th overtime after Georgia had scored. The Bulldogs go to the Plains and win by 7.
Did you see that? Did you see the guy with the cartwheel? I've never seen that. I've never seen a football player cartwheel on the field. I've seen cheerleaders. I've never seen football players. That was cool.
I don't think I have either. There's the state scoring drive numbers. And for Isaac, it is his 3rd touchdown run of the year. By far the most memorable because he turns from no gain to all of a sudden Mississippi State up and in command with 13 seconds remaining in the first quarter. Jeff Walker ready to kick. Marcel West and Michael Vaughn are deep, and Vaughn will watch that one bounce out of bounds at about the 5-yard line. Down to the sidelines, and we check in with Pam Ward.
All right, Dave. Tony Buckhalter, the tailback who was hurt, has a sprained left ankle. They are icing it right now, and the doctors tell me that they're going to retape it and see if he can go back in, but it doesn't seem like they're too optimistic. Tony wasn't even able to see that last touchdown either. Back to you, Dave.
Well, if you're looking for a bright spot anywhere you can, McKinley got in, and first time he touches it, he shows he's ready to play tonight. So it is an injury-decimated position, but on the other hand, they're getting some unexpected contributions there so far.
Now on the other side, Jeff Walker can't be very happy with himself. The momentum that Mississippi State has as a result of the touchdown has ebbed a little bit, giving Alabama pretty good field position as a result of kicking the ball out of bounds.
Short drop, swing to Riddle. Izell McGill with a nice open field ankle tackle. 5-4-3, and that will be the final play of the first quarter. And after one at Scott Field, 7-0 Mississippi State over number 8 Alabama, looking to wrap up the SEC West. So as we begin the second quarter at Scott Field, Mississippi State surprisingly, in many minds no doubt, on top. The way they have gotten on top, not so surprising, because basically they are beating Alabama at the moment, at least, at their own grinded out game. 2nd and 4 for the Tide, their own 41-yard line. They have to go into the win for the first time tonight. Dennis Riddle tries the middle, and 43, maybe the 44, is where he runs into Eric Dotson. Let's look at the numbers through the first quarter. Well, normally Alabama is a ball control team, and they're having it controlled pretty well against them so far.
That's really amazing. Here's the number that stands out right here: 126 yards rushing. Are you kidding me? There's no way you would have thought they'd have had that for the entire game, let alone the first quarter. Mississippi State's offensive line really asserting themselves.
Alabama allows an average of just 90 rushing yards per game. Already well above that, the Bulldogs. Kitchens on 3rd and 2, wide open. A juggling catch by Rod Rutledge, the backup tight end at the 33. Not the prettiest pass that Kitchens will throw tonight, but it works for 19 yards.
Ernest Garner's a defensive end by trade. He's not somebody used to covering, and in this case, he's got to go man for man with the tight end. Kitchens puts the pillow up. Boy, he wanted to make sure of that catch. That was awfully close. Rod Rutledge, a little bit unsure of himself, but he drops to the ground and makes sure he has a hold of it. Alabama able to take advantage of the Mississippi State blitz in that sequence.
Ian Haight, the tight ends, get maybe a ball or two per game. They got to make the most of it when they do. Riddle with a nice cutback makes the most of huge room, and another Tide first down to the 17, good for 16 yards.
Blocking up front for Alabama is outstanding, catching them on their heels. Going to run or pass. Kitchens fades back like he's going to, gets the delay to Riddle. Good block by the fullback, stepping up and creating a hole for him. That's Trevis Smith. Garner makes the tackle downfield, but not before big-time yardage for that man, Dennis Riddle.
First 5 games, better than 48 per game, and the last 4 better than 140. Run down by LaCoste, who again shows his closing speed. Mike Tirico, what do you have?
Dave, up at the Metrodome and Illinois school record. Howard Griffin had the rushing yardage record in a game in 1990. Tonight, Robert Holcomb, 315 yards, including this go-ahead touchdown. Illinois leading Minnesota by 4.
Wow. Well, so with 3 minutes left, he could still add to those numbers. That's amazing. Holy cow.
Jim Wacker hoping to go out with a victory. Looking doubtful at the moment, though. This is 2nd and 5 for Alabama. Dennis Riddle avoiding one hit. LaCoste again came up, but couldn't bring him down. This time it took Eric Brown, one of the 2 dog safeties, to make the tackle.
LaCoste over pursued a little bit in that case. He was unblocked. Riddle cut back against it. LaCoste really impresses me. You pointed out right off the bat that he can run. I mean, he's going sideline to sideline. He's making a lot of tackles. As a result of Dwayne Curry being injured, their potential All-American linebacker, LaCoste, had to make a lot more plays, nearly 13 tackles a game. That's unbelievable.
And he's also, as you just saw, the man that calls the defensive signals for the Dogs. Option pitch. Shaun Alexander inside the 5, where it's 1st and goal for Alabama.
Trevor Smith, the fullback, does a great job leading. Take a look at the fullback block when you get a chance in motion. Just to the left of your screen, watch number 48. There he is to the left. Just drops the safety, enabling Alexander to cut behind for the 1st down. Alexander gets the yardage, but Smith is the man that really created the opening there as he drops the dog safety, Eric Brown.
Trevor Smith, his 2nd straight start. Ed Sissom underwent surgery Thursday, might possibly return by bowl season. He had a stress fracture repaired in his forearm. Dennis Riddle weaving to the goal line for a touchdown.
Well, Dave, that's what championship teams do. And the offensive line for Alabama in that case did such a good job that Riddle, that close to the goal line, could actually hesitate, cut back, and get in the end zone.
Well, and again, whatever decision Gene Stallings makes at that spot, it's the right decision. The proverbial embarrassment of riches at tailback. We haven't seen Curtis Alexander, who began the season as a starter and returned after rehabbing a broken wrist. Got a couple of balls last week. The extra point by John Brock ties it at 7.
Just to the left of your screen, take a look. He ends up going where he's not supposed to, but that's where the hole is. And the offensive line created it for him. Touchdown, Riddle.
Dennis Riddle ties it for the Crimson Tide. The William Watts kick to the 10, where Isaac bites off a pretty nice return chunk of yardage. Across the 35-yard line, 28-yard return by Isaac. Riddle also delivered the key play en route to the touchdown.
Well, this certainly makes sense because he's been the big man. There's Trevor Smith again with the big block, springing Riddle, who thus far now has 10 carries, 76 yards, and a touchdown.
Riddle good for almost half that 65-yard scoring drive, which culminated in his 10th of the season. So now we see what Mississippi State has in the way of a counter punch. Early 2nd quarter. Their early lead didn't last, so Taite back to work. Very little success through the air so far, but a lot of success when he's tucked and run. And this time cut down at the 43-yard line by Dwayne Rudd.
And that's a big-time play by Dwayne Rudd, and let me tell you why. He's in man-for-man coverage with the tight end. He has to commit one way or the other, and his timing on the commitment is outstanding. If he goes too soon, Tate's able to throw the ball and get the 1st down. If he goes too late, Taite gets the 1st down on the run. He picked the exact right time to come off his man and make the tackle. You can see by the look on Tate's face, he thought he was going to get more out of that.
Derrick Taite over for a quick chat along the sideline. Offensive coordinator from Mississippi is Lynn Amity, who watches from the press box. And the man getting helped off the field is the center, Dan Hoover, who had so looked forward to starting this game because as an Alabama native, you can't play for him. You always want to at least play against him. He got the starting nod at center tonight.
That would seem to me to be the case. After our 2 trips to Tuscaloosa, there's no way that you are apathetic about Alabama football. It's a love-hate relationship. There's no middle of the road.
So with Hoover out, Eric Allen is the backup. And Taite goes offset eye on 2nd and 5. Isaac Runs right into Ralph Staten, and back he goes, but they'll give him forward progress to the 45. Staten, a senior from Sims, Alabama, goes 6'3", 208. If he goes to the next level, he would be a rather quick, strong safety, I think.
That would be what I would anticipate, and that's why Gene Stallings puts him in a position where he can cover from time to time. But the thing that he has been outstanding with over the last couple of games has been his pass rush. He has really been in the face of people. Those of you that watched the Tennessee game remember his was the big sack that caused Manning to fumble.
Well, you just saw the number of the night, the fact that so far State has been able to run the ball against one of the best units in the country. Too tall, intended for Woodbury.
And that's great coverage by Townsend. They kept everybody in, had the one-man route. Alabama came with the blitz, and it's man-for-man coverage by Deshaun Townsend. Take a look right here. He bumps with him. He's got the bigger man. He has his eyes on his eyes. He doesn't look back until the ball gets there. Townsend may not have the numbers in terms of interceptions and tackles and all these different things, but he is a good-looking cornerback.
On the kick, Andy Russ, and with the wind at his back, he sails a beauty. Chad Goss fair catch, 14-yard line, 41-yard kick by Russ. More importantly, keeps it inside the 15. Start your college football weekend off Thursday with ESPN at 7:30. Chris, Coach, and Kirk. They'll tell you all you need to know for Saturday. And then at 8, the Horned Frogs of TCU head down I-30 to Mustang Country. They'll take on WAC rival SMU. I don't know if I'll ever get used to saying WAC rivals, yeah. TCU and SMU.
That does sound strange. Hey, do me a favor. You have some pull. Tell Kirk Herbstreit to grow his hair out, man.
Get right on that.
Yeah, thanks.
Heading to Western Union. No, I hear generally very positive reviews of Kirk sartorially and otherwise. All right. 13-yard line. Kitchens with all day. Finally throws an interception to McGill. 𝐒𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬 Boy, everything went wrong there for Kitchens. Couldn't find anybody open. Threw off the back foot, off balance, into a crowd. And McGill has his 3rd pick of the year.
Well, when you have that much time to throw, you saw it chewing out he is about to get by Coach Stallings. Plenty of time right there. He double clutches and then throws a softball that McGill is easily able to pick off. When you have that much time and nobody is open, the seasoned quarterback just needs to throw the ball away and get rid of it. Bad decision on the part of Kitchens.
And well-deserved congratulations for Isel McGill. Like an electric charge goes through Scott Field. Isaac, though, caught for a loss of 3 by Michael Myers, and you would expect that man to rise up when the need arises. And Myers, their leading defensive lineman, with a hit from behind the line.
You made a very cogent point earlier with regards to throwing things out and throwing out the kitchen sink. There's the opportunity right after turnover. You got to go into the end zone. Don't go up the middle or go between the tackles. If Derrick and Taite bootlegs on that case, he walks into the end zone. They had 8 in the box. Run your wide receivers up the field. Make the guys turn their backs and give Taite another opportunity to run. That's been their most effective offensive weapon thus far.
2nd and 13 with Barry and Grant both wide right. And you'd expect him to go to the air. Myers did, and he's got another sack. That call on 1st down may be worse.
Well, here you got a situation. Take a look at Myers. How is he not blocked? How is he not blocked? The left guard in this case, for whatever reason, goes in the other direction. That's Brad Ainsworth. How can you let Michael Myers go? That's like letting Bruce Smith go or letting Reggie White. Oh, no, you self-check. No worries. Yeah, that's a guy you got to block, and I'm sure that Taite is giving his left guard a mouthful there in the huddle.
You know, it's a manner of speaking. Coaches say, you know, I haven't seen anybody block that guy all year. That's not what they mean, though. Not quite that literally.
No, not at all. Now they have to use their last timeout.
Well, beginning with the Kitchens experience on that interception, nothing has gone right for anybody offensively. So State minus any more timeouts the rest of the way. 8:17 to go. No more timeouts the rest of the way in the 1st half. More importantly, they need 23 yards on 3rd down.
Dave, they don't. They need to get in field goal range. Short pass is what they need.
Floater for Woodbury. And broken up, but a flag is going to be thrown on Jackson. At the 2, he went up in a jump ball situation with Woodbury and drew the flag.
Woodbury does a very good thing, a clever thing here. Jackson is in outstanding coverage. Woodbury does the version, you'll appreciate this, Dave, of the guy who fakes like he's drawing the charge and falls back. Take a look at Woodbury. He doesn't have a chance to make this catch, but take a look at what he does. Watch Woodbury now look back. He's behind Jackson. Looks like, oh, I got to get a shot at this. Oh, my gosh, no, I can't get it. Look, oh, that's got to be interference. In fairness to Jackson, he was in pretty good coverage, but they've got to make that call because Jackson didn't turn around.
Big break for Derrick Tate.
I was about to say, Mississippi State was very lucky there. I'm thinking that when you got 3rd and 23, get the 10-yard pass and kick a 30-yard field goal. They got a break there.
3rd penalty so far tonight against the Tide sets him up. 1st and 10 at the 12. And Tate with a play call at the line. Runs to the right and delivers in the back of the end zone for Woodbury. Touchdown.
Well, Dave, you and I mentioned the fact that Woodbury was due for some big plays, and Jackie Sherrill felt like that he had to have some big plays from that young man to go with the upset tonight. 2 big ones back-to-back.
Ryan Hazelwood's extra point kick limps over the crossbar.
Take a look at Woodbury here, trying to get away from the rush. Tate throws off the right foot. I'm not exactly sure that's who he's going to, but Woodbury makes the diving catch, uses the big body in pursuit. There's the throw, and Woodbury behind. Really, that's not bad coverage at all on the part of Bryant, but Woodbury makes the play.
And you're right, Lahidi Grant might have had cause to think that was for him. Worked out pretty well. It's 14-7. Let's check in with Mike Tirico.
All right, it is over in the Metrodome. We told you Robert Holcomb over 300 yards, but Minnesota comes back down the field. Corey Sauter, 27 yards to Ryan Thelwell. Sauter sneaks it in from a yard out. Illinois gets the ball back, tries to rally and get the game-winning field goal, but the interception by Rufus Smith. Minnesota snaps a 13-game Big Ten losing streak, beating Illinois by 2.
Yeah. Well, again, the lame duck coach theory working in favor of Wacker, but against Lou Tepper.
Well,
something had to give there. Something had to give.
Come on.
I can make that turn into a brilliant statement.
I was going to say, boy,
no matter what happens.
Ooh, you're prescient. Preston's got nothing on you, bud.
Jeff Walker will kick with a big 20, 25-mile-an-hour gale at his back.
And he wants to get a touchback. Alabama is averaging 29 yards at kickoff return.
After a brief moment of pause, West decides to take the knee.
Vaughn actually had to talk him out of it. That was pretty funny.
Well, the drive took just 3 plays after the McGill interception. Woodbury's second scoring catch of the season, and by far on a night where Tate has struggled mightily through the air, the best pass he's thrown tonight.
And the big play of that particular drive is the thespian performance by Woodbury in drawing the interference. It's a good job. It's a good play.
New quarterback, Warren Faust. And they give to Shaun Alexander. Maybe 2. He runs into Ernest Garner.
You know, when you and I were chatting last night, remember we asked Gene Stallings point blank, would you remove Kitchens? He says, oh, yeah. I mean, he didn't act like, oh, well, only if in certain situations. I mean, that was just an egregious mistake on his part. You know, the numbers are a little bit deceptive there. He's actually had some pretty good throws, but that interception is certainly one he wishes he had back. And as a result, he's finding himself on the sidelines drinking water and being a little bit angry.
Warren Faust is 6'3", 207, sophomore from Midwest City, Oklahoma. Off the play fake, delivers complete. Calvin Hall good for a first down to the 34-yard line. Eric Daniel makes the stop there, but a gain of 12. Warren Faust on target.
I tell you what, when you're a quarterback and you come out of the box, you haven't played in a while, to get that first throw under your belt does a lot for both your rhythm and your confidence. Faust with a good play action fake, got the ball right between the 8 and the 3 to Hall and gets the first down. And so not only is it good for his confidence, but it's good for the group. Now they know that the guy in charge can deliver the goods.
You know, the line for the backup quarterback is your play away, always keep your head in the game. I would imagine for Warren Faust, it is literally true, because he really never does know when he's going in, but this is why he does get some time. He can run the ball, and he's near midfield. Option keeper brought down by Raymond G.
Remember the last time we had a game with Alabama, Warren Faust came in and the game was pretty much over with. Faust never once called a pass. He called the option like, what, 5, 6 straight times. Yeah. He wanted to get some numbers. No, this young man can run it.
And not just as a clock killer. He can be a genuine threat. The Oklahoma Scholar Athlete of the Year, Midwest City, his senior year, also class valedictorian. Wow. Got a few smarts as well. Alexander busts through. And look at the Tide roll after the quarterback change. 12 more yards in the first.
The reason we're looking at Warren Faust right now is because of this interception. A good 7-8 seconds Kitchens had to get rid of the ball. Instead, he rolls to his right, double clutches, and throws the ball right into the waiting hands of Ezel McGill. And that's why Gene Stallings said he'd seen enough. And it's now a time to give the kid from Oklahoma an opportunity to show his wares, and so far so good.
Yeah, they're getting big chunks of real estate ever since.
A lot of yardage, too.
This drive reaching the 39-yard line of the Bulldogs. Alexander stretches for the 34. Another tackle by Garner. So one of the effects that the change has had, apparently on the offensive line, they're blocking much better.
Well, they are. I'm curious about this. Shaun Alexander, Dennis Riddle, you know, what do we say, 10 for 76? Well, why take him out? You know, ride that horse.
Well, a lot of people before the game were saying, why not start this guy who had almost 300 yards last week? Again, you can't, he's never going to please everybody, but he's never going to make the wrong decision there either. Faust for only a gain of 1 or 2. G, the right tackle, member of the Delta Community College National Junior College champions.
This is 4-down territory. They got 3rd and 4 here at the 33-yard line. The wind is in their face. There's no way they're going to punt. I'm thinking that right now Woody McCorvey, the offensive coordinator for Alabama, is a little bit ahead of the game, deciding here, hey, we can run here 3rd and 4 because we're going to go for it on 4th down anyway.
From the 32, they need 4, and they option pitch for Alexander. They've got, I believe, 5. I don't think that's even close enough to measure. Should be 1st down, Alabama.
Once again, Trevis Smith at the fullback position drops the first man who has to come up and make the play. Number 48, the fullback for Alabama, has just been outstanding.
Trevis Smith, 6'1", 222, has not carried the ball in these 2 starts. But that's not really the job description. Just go out there and clear some space for those who do. In this case, Shaun Alexander, the tailback. Smith in motion, another option. And on the reverse, it's Michael Vaughn. Favors read it, turned it back inside. Vaughn, with his second effort, is close for a 1st down. There were a couple of great plays there. The first one by Favors, and then to counter it, the persistence in the open field of Vaughn.
Well, the good play by Favors is an intellectual one, not a physical one. This is known as the Stanford option, coming the other way. Vaughn gets the pitch. Favors is not fooled. Watch the right of your screen, but he misjudges. Now it's just a great individual effort on the part of Vaughn, who breaks through some arm tackles and nearly gets the 1st down in a situation where you could argue that Favors should have dropped him for a loss. Great individual effort on the part of Vaughn.
8-yard pickup. Shaun Alexander runs into the waiting arms of Favors, and it'll be 3rd and short. For the 2nd consecutive year, Burger King is proud to recognize outstanding scholar athletes through its $1 million college scholarship program. For 10 weeks this season, Burger King will present $100,000 per week in the name of college football players whose achievements go beyond the field and into the classroom in all 4 NCAA divisions. For Mississippi State, the student of the game tonight, Paul Lacoste, with a 3.23 GPA in coaching and teaching education. And for Alabama, 13 quarterback John David Phillips, a 3.15 in public relations.
Guy's got over 100 tackles, and he's a scholar. Man, oh man, what a stud bowl.
3rd and 1. Alexander takes the pitch. to the 11 of Mississippi State, where he's hit by Badon and Nelson. First down, Alabama.
Well, the inside linebackers blitz, the idea is to get in the gaps. But what happens in this case is the blitz right there coming up the middle creates gaps instead. Shaun Alexander at 208 pounds is not a small back. He's able to run over some people, and he keeps the leg churning. First down just outside the 10-yard line.
Well, each time they've been down, Alabama has mustered a drive. This one, which began at their 20, reaches the 11 of the Dogs with 2:50 and counting in the first half. Shaun Alexander, touchdown.
The blocks by the left side of the offensive line are just outstanding. Take a look right here at the people and what they do. Just driving LACOSTE down. Favors cannot get off the block of Patrick Hape, and as a result, Shaun Alexander, boy, I tell you what, he gets in for the touchdown, but he owes an awful lot to his friends, particularly the left side of the offensive line, Samuel's friend 𝐂𝐫𝐢𝐬𝐬𝐢, and the tight end, Patrick Hape.
And put an asterisk on the work of the right guard, LaRon White, because he had to carry out his block minus one shoe. He ran out of it. Alexander sprinted past, and the extra point by Brock is no good.
That's big.
They have had all kinds of misery at the place kicker position this year. Stallings, for this game, left Brian Cunningham at home. He has been the starter most of the year. Brock misses his second PAT of the season. Didn't miss it by much, but it's enough to keep the Bulldogs on top by one. This PAT keeps Mississippi State on top 14-13. That defensive unit's done Jolie done proud thus far. And the offense ready to take it with 2 minutes and 46 seconds still remaining, first half. And the kick by Watts down to the 2, where Isaac cuts back across the grain and reaches the 30. Plenty of time, but on the other hand, no timeouts for Derrick Taite to work with.
Well, but I think that as a result of the missed extra point, and even if the extra point would have been made, I think Mississippi State would be content to go in tied, in this case up by 1 point. So I'm looking to think that the Bulldogs here would be content with the win at their backs to sit on it.
Jim Stallings said, in no way, shape, or form will we look past Mississippi State. We don't do things that way. It means too much to us to look ahead to Auburn. Isaac for a short gain as we hear from Mike Tirico.
Dave, coming up, it is the GMAC halftime report. Lee Corso, Kirk Herbstreit will join me. We'll recap the day in the SEC. A wild day in the top 25. Plus, we'll hear from Lou Holtz. And today's best. Sounds like a great idea for a feature. It was a wild day in college football. We'll recap it coming up on the GMAC halftime report. See you then.
Yeah, Lou Holtz continues not to deny the reports that had him set to announce his resignation early in the week from Notre Dame. Isaac across the 35. State staying conservative, as you had predicted, under the 2-minute mark.
I'm interested here. Now, this would show Gene Stallings as to how much confidence he has in his second-string quarterback, because they've got to consider the possibility of using a timeout, forcing a punt. But I'm sure his thinking right here is that because they do have an outstanding punter, and Faust is probably not the kind of guy that can put you out in the 4 wide and run them up the field, that they, too, are going to be content to let the thing run out.
This is a 3rd and 4. Roll out by Taite. Gets away from Staten. Now he's got a whole different view. Other side of the field. Lets it fly over Woodbury.
I don't understand that call. I really don't. If for no other reason, then certainly you say to yourself, okay, if he doesn't get it and it goes incomplete, now the clock is stopped. Jackie Sherrill opting for a little bit of surprise there. Lynn Amity trying to get, I think what he was looking for really is trying to get the short route, but Alabama had it in coverage.
Andy Russ.
Oh, man.
By far his best effort of the night.
Holy cow. Was that 64?
That is 64 yards.
But, I mean, that was on the fly. If he'd have kicked that from the goal line, that could have been like a 90-yard kick. Holy cow. What am I, Phil Rizzuto all of a sudden? I'm saying, holy cow.
Been good for us up to 72. He's got more than that in his arsenal. ABC has all your regional college football next Saturday. Michigan State visits Penn State. USC heads across town to UCLA. Maryland will travel to Florida State, and Texas Tech visits Oklahoma. Check your local listings for the game in your area. Content to sit on it, evidently. Alabama. Riddle brought down by Michael Lindsay as we go under 1 minute.
Once again, this is where you're looking ahead, and that is Gene Stallings knows that they deferred. They're going to get the ball to start the second half, so there's absolutely no reason right here, 80 yards away from the goal line, they should be taking any chances. And you saw Gene Stallings do that point to the ground thing. They're not going to take any chances here and give the ball up.
Earlier today, local television showed the tape of the 1980 Mississippi State Alabama game, arguably the biggest victory in Mississippi State football history. A 6-3 win which ended Alabama's 28-game win streak, ended their hopes of a third straight national title. As Riddle carries again, and the remarkable thing that I don't think anybody remembers is that was 6-3. It ended on an Alabama fumble inside the 5, and then Mississippi State almost fumbled the last snap of the game, and Bama almost recovered for a touchdown as the gun sounded.
And as you pointed out, that's the only time they've won since 1957.
Well, Jackie Sherrill has them halfway to ending a 15-game losing streak that has happened ever since that 80 victory. It's 14-13. Let's go to the studio and Mike. Well, at least in the last 5 years, it's been a pretty close series. Alabama usually wins. They trail at this halftime juncture, 14-13. We said coming on the average margin in the last 5, less than a touchdown per game, and I think we're seeing why. Mississippi State has figured out ways to counteract the things that Alabama does well.
Well, one of the things that's happened with Mississippi State, the thing they've done well is not turn the ball over. And, of course, Alabama did turn the ball over. That turned out to be a very big play. Of course, the Kitchens interception that they turned into a touchdown. That's the reason they're up a point. It appeared that Alabama was starting to assert themselves in the second half. But I have to like Mississippi State's chances if they can continue to not turn the ball over.
Costliest turnover, the Kitchens interception throw to Eisel McGill late in the second quarter, which turned into a touchdown pass for the Bulldogs. This kick will result in another touchback. West on the knee. Let's look at the halftime numbers, and when you run it for 127, you've had a good day against Alabama. Almost unheard of to do that in a half, but that's what the Bulldogs managed.
Well, of course, the impressive thing, too, on the other side of the ledger is that Alabama, nobody's ever accused them of being an offensive juggernaut. They're with 148 yards rushing and 214 total yards, on pace, obviously, for over 400. That's not characteristic of the Alabama offense.
Warren Faust ended the first half and begins the second half at quarterback, and his give is to Dennis Riddle. Nice job by the left side of the line. Gouges out about 5 yards for Riddle, who had 80 and a touchdown at the half. Faust came on immediately following the Kitchens interception, and they have run the ball very effectively with Faust at the controls.
Did you happen to read that in high school, by the way? Did you read Faust?
I think we could say that Stallings made a Faustian pact at the quarterback spot. Yeah, I read it. Very good. Great book. Dennis Riddle for no gain. He's run down by Favors and Lindsay, both the defensive end. Let's hear from Pam Ward.
All right, Dave. Jackie Sherrill, the head coach of Mississippi State, told me that he really wasn't surprised that they've been able to run against Alabama, considering the defensive fronts they use. Of course, nobody else has been able to run against Bama this year. But Jackie says he would rather see Kitchens play a quarterback than Faust because of his option ability. But a couple of starters are out with injuries. Center Dan Hoover will not be back. He has a sprained left knee. Defensive back Kendall Roberson out for the game with a hurt biceps. Back to you, Dave.
Roberson in particular. A costly blow if he can't come back. Faust on the scramble is going to come up a couple of feet short of the first down marker.
Interesting decision here. I know that sounds corny with 13.5 minutes left in the third quarter. Now they're not going to do it. I really thought they were going to give it a shot.
Really? At their 30?
No, I did.
Nah.
Earlier in the day, if you saw the Michigan game, they were in a similar circumstance. At 1.5 yards, they had a good running quarterback. They just snuck it. I know they have a great defense. I just thought, you know.
Well, they have maybe the most conservative coach in America, too. Factor that in as well.
All right.
Stockton had a good first half.
Nice kick.
Boy, it really is into the wind. Isaac bobbled it, but it was already along the sideline. 43-yard boot. ESPN News, the newest member of the ESPN family, is television's most comprehensive sports news service. Up-to-the-minute reports on all the breaking news from the world of sports. Call your local cable operator or satellite provider to get ESPN News in your home today.
43 yards might not seem like that big of a deal, but as you pointed out earlier, when the wind is gusting up to 25 miles an hour and you're kicking into the face, that's really an amazing punt.
Down the way, bore it in that time. Grant chased by Bryant in motion. Tate rolling off play action and into a crowd, somehow finds the intended target, and it's the tight end, Jennings, who has big yardage to the tied 40. A rather dangerous throw and a marker down near where Jennings ran out of bounds. If the play stands, it's good for 30 yards, but they're already marching Mississippi State back, and we'll see what Doyle Jackson's indication is.
Lamont Woodbury is the one that evidently they felt with the illegal block. From my vantage point, it appeared that there was nothing wrong with it. Take a look at the left of your screen. There's the misdirection. Tight end coming across. You can see right here, stumbling down, able to make the catch. Look at all the white shirts. Boy, that's a good-looking throw by Tate. Right here, there's Woodbury. Just gets a piece of Jackson you saw there. Ooh, that's kind of...
By the offensive team, first down.
Yeah, that falls into the heading of ticky-tack for me, Dave.
Didn't really have an effect on anything that Jennings did. That's why if you're Jackie Sherrill, you hate to see that thrown. But it is still a first down. In effect, though, it cost them not about 15 yards. On the carry, Greer, the fullback, and he is run down and might lose a couple.
Another flag is down.
Mississippi State did a great job avoiding flags in the first half. This one goes against the Tide for face masking. Bulldogs not penalized once in the first half. Alabama had 3 for 30. Jackie Sherrill, who played
5 yards face mask by the defense, 5 yards from the end of the run, still first down.
Thank you, Bill. Played for 2 Alabama national champions, 1964-65. This is the 8th time as a head coach he has faced his alma mater. And he's come close each of the last 2 years. Hasn't quite been able to carry off the upset, though. Jitterbugging for limited yardage, 2 or 3 maybe, is Robert Isaac. Ralph Staten was waiting for him.
And Staten did a good job of waiting, of staying at home, is the vernacular used by the defensive coordinators throughout the nation. He was guilty earlier, recall, of over pursuing the ball, as was Rudd on a couple of the bigger runs that he had in the first half. This time, it appears that they made the adjustments at halftime, and Alabama is staying in their lanes.
And Speedy Staten's had a big night. Gain of 3 for Isaac. He goes in motion now on 2nd down and 7. They give it to Greer, and Staten again right there waiting for him, along with Rudd. And the Bulldogs will look at 3rd and about 5.
Mississippi State needs to shake it up a little bit and start to throw on some of the earlier downs. I like what they did with the tight end earlier. But what happens here is that if you continue to run on the first 2 downs and you come up 3rd, even if it's 3rd and relatively makeable, you become very predictable. And you give Alabama the opportunity to shoot some gaps and come with some blitzes and create some turnovers.
Bulldogs would like to do as much as possible with the wind at their back. So a big 3rd and 4, and the catch is made. They're going to rule it a catch, I believe. It is a completion to the 42-yard line, and it is good for a first down to Matthew Butler.
Butler does a great job of getting his hands underneath. Take a look. You're going to see right at the bottom of your screen as he get his hands underneath the ball. Oh, easy. Not only were his hands, it hit him right in the stomach. You notice that the defenders, when the ball is thrown low, regardless, if you're standing right there and the guy catches it as his chest, everybody goes, no, incomplete, every time.
Automatic.
Yep.
So the drive still alive. Isaac tries the quick hitter off right tackle. And hit just as quickly, first by Myers. Isaac replaced, as we mentioned, the at the time leading rusher in the SEC. And this arguably is the best they have run the ball, certainly when you consider the competition ever since Kiefer-McGee went down against South Carolina.
Well, so much of their offense was based on Kiefer-McGee getting his 25-30 carries. And when we asked Jackie Sherrill point blank about how many wins things might have been different with Kiefer-McGee, he said he felt at least 2.
Difference in getting to a bowl, not getting to a bowl, if you look at it that way. Isaac unable to get any room along the left side. Samuel and Rudd were there.
Well, one of the things that I obviously they want to take some time off the clock. They want to shorten the game. I certainly understand that. But to move the sticks, once again, they come up in a predictable third down situation. And Alabama last time came with a blitz. Tate was able to beat it. Let's see what happens this time as they go to their 4 wide receiver set out of the shotgun.
One more interesting note about McGee. He is still their leading rusher. Even a couple of months after his injury. 481 in their first 3. Tate to the air. What a catch. Wow. On the slant in by Butler. Andre Short had pretty good coverage. It goes for 18, and the Bulldogs again move the chain.
Boy, this is a good catch. The deep slant, all hands. Look at the extension. Powell sticks right in his hands. You see the double 23s once again with the blitz. Tate stands strong, delivers the ball across the middle. And remember earlier in the game, that was the young man Butler who dropped a pass early in the drive, which didn't set a very positive tone for Mississippi State. This time, great snag.
No flag. Now there is a flag, I think, on Ozell Powell at right defensive tackle for Bama.
Issue here is that Gene Stallings can't be very happy with his defense. He's so used to seeing them. See, even he's signaling offsides, how disappointed he is. He's used to seeing his defense stop people like Mississippi State in their tracks going 3 and out. I mean, interesting statistic that we were talking about yesterday. Dwayne Rudd, their leading tackler, has 54 tackles. Does that mean he's not getting to the ball? It doesn't. What it actually means is the Alabama defense has been so effective that nearly half of the drives by other teams have been 3 and out, so he's not on the field much. Tonight it's very different. Mississippi State has kept that defense on the field more than usual.
Robert Isaac drags Dwayne Rudd to the 13-yard line. On what was a 1st and 5, he's going to be pretty close to first down at that point. Very significant that for a team that averages about a 16-play advantage, Alabama during the season plays in the first half were dead even. Each team 34 snaps, and that's something that defense is not accustomed to. Second and 1. And Isaac drops it. 3 white jerseys around him. Who got to it first? It is Alabama ball. Chris Hood comes up with the Robert Isaac fumble at the 16.
Tough situation in the backfield. Just a little bit out of sync. The timing isn't quite there. Take a look at the handoff and take a look at where Isaac is. Just a little bit of an extension here, just a little bit too far. Right there, it comes off his hip, and there's nothing but white shirts right there. Just couldn't quite get it. You saw his left hand on it, but he's not strong enough to take it away from Chris Hood.
Well, the only first half fumble led to points. On a chilly night in Starkville, we'll see what Alabama can do with their first takeaway of the game. Dennis Riddle with the pitch. Not much room as he tries to get loose from Tim Nelson unsuccessfully. Here's what happened on the Isaac fumble.
Tate is just a little bit right there. He doesn't get it in his belly. In fact, he runs too far past it. Now, once again, I know that this is asking an awful lot of young people, but when you know that you've got second and very short, if there's any doubt in your mind that the thing might roll off, just fall on it. Fall on it right there. You've got 3rd and 4. Instead, obviously, Isaac wants to make a play, and the ball falls out, and Hood gets the recovery, and it's a tough break for the Bulldogs.
Had his eyes trained on the secondary. Yep. Looking for the hole that never was. Faust avoids a sack by LACOSTE, who came hard on a blitz and turns it into positive yardage. Barely. He's underneath the 343-pound tackle, Eric Dotson, and it'll bring up third down.
That has happened a lot. We've seen LACOSTE. He has been running free in a lot of situations. A lot of that could be because of the setups, because of the particular sequences that Joe Lee Dunn has put up defensively.
You never know where he's going to line up in the same game this year. He's played nose guard, linebacker, defensive end, and free safety. So he's wherever they feel like they can get him the best shot at the ball.
And cheerleader.
On every play. They come with another blitz. Faust to the air and intended for Calvin Hall. It's incomplete. So the Bulldogs allow nothing after the Isaac fumble. A big statement by the Mississippi State defense.
Certainly a catchable ball, though, on the part of Calvin Hall. It looked like Faust was a little nervous bouncing around in the pocket. And yes, it was thrown a little behind him, but I think that was catchable.
Hayden Stockton. Very short. Boy, this is like a knockdown shot in golf. Picked up by a brave Robert Isaac and returned to the 45-yard line.
Not so brave. He had a situation there because the ball was hit at midfield. It's going to go back up because it was hit. He had nothing to lose by picking that ball up.
Here, 6-2-30. Isaac squeezes through the middle. Touchdown. Robert Isaac with the play of the first half. His fumble cost him nothing. He comes back, and ball was touched by an Alabama player on that punt at the 48 of the Tide, and so that's why, as Todd explained, it was basically a risk-free return by Isaac. And Tate taking over there. Grant in motion. Play fake for Tate, who gets it off deep for Woodbury. And incomplete. Running stride for stride with him as he has most of the night to Shea Townsend.
And Lamont Woodbury trying to lean into Townsend. That's the chatter right there. He's got him saying, no way, no way. The ball should have been over his right shoulder. Look at the overthrow right here. Townsend with him stride for stride. Now watch what he does. Woodbury leans back trying to get into the body of him, but Townsend saying, not in my kitchen, as they say.
Townsend showing no ill effects really from the hamstring injury that kept him out of the starting lineup at LSU and made him somewhat questionable for this one. But he's been in the whole way. Isaac ran into his own blocker. Greer reverses and then heads forward again. Turns it into about 3 yards.
I got to say, though, even though the play was not completed, I like that call for no other reason than being at least a little bit unpredictable. I mean, a one-point lead is tenuous at best, and Mississippi State has to at least get into field goal range to threaten Alabama a little bit, because you have to anticipate you're asking an awful lot of the Mississippi defense to shut out Alabama the rest of the way.
Yeah, and the Alabama defense, if they can put their ears back and really guess along with you and tee off, I mean, they're tough enough even if you catch them by surprise. Almost impossible if they're reading your playbook along with you. 3rd and 7, deep again for Butler, and a clean defensive play according to the official. Andre Short, in the opinion of the Bulldog fans, ran up the back of Butler's legs, but no flag.
You saw the official rubbing his hand over the top of his head. That means an uncatchable ball. You can see Tate overthrow here. Watch at the end of the play. Short does make the tackle, but even if he's left to run all by himself, there's no way he's going to get to that ball a good 3-4 yards past him. Good non-call on the part of the official.
Just a brief outburst by Sherrill, who then backed off. 3rd time tonight we've seen this on a 4th down. Matt Wyatt, backup quarterback, retreats from under center and acts as the pooch kicker. He gets a hop. This is a perfect effort. Not quite able to save it, though, in the end zone. Was Jeremy Jones, and it's 45 yards, but a net of just 25. Sold out Scott Field, Starkville, Mississippi, on a cool, breezy night. Dave Barnett, Todd Christensen, and Pam Ward, 14-13. Mississippi State thus far spoiling The Alabama plan to clinch outright the SEC West Championship. Auburn a 4 overtime loser to Georgia. Faust bounces that one, and they quickly rule it incomplete. Not a lateral.
Heads up, though, on the part of Vaughn. Don't wait.
Yep.
He knew that was a lateral, and if it is, even on the one hop, it's going to count.
With the Auburn loss, Gene Stallings can go ahead and make next week's game against the Tigers a battle strictly for pride. If they win tonight, then they know they have the showdown in the SEC championship game against #1 Florida.
Yeah, but when you're talking about Auburn and Alabama, you know, yeah, it's pride. That's a big-time pride.
They could be 0-10 on both sides.
Exactly.
Toss to the other side, also ruled incomplete, but close to perhaps being thrown behind the line. It was intended for Alexander this time.
I don't understand this. It's obvious that Faust is the option quarterback, and he did that with some effectiveness. The 80-yard drive that they had near the end of the second quarter was heightened by not only his ability to run, his ability to get the ball to the people that can make the plays.
Now, by the way, that's just an arm warming device. That is not a device to shore up an injured shoulder. It's just a matter of keeping Kitchens' right wing as warm as possible on a cool night. Blitz coming, 3rd and 10, draw play. Riddle breaks the tackle, gets only 4, and again the Tide will have to kick into the wind. And with every possession, Todd, the state defense gets visibly more confident.
Well, the thing, again, I don't understand this, and I'm not one to second-guess Woody McCorvey, but obviously if you have the option quarterback in, the idea of throwing the ball first 2 times doesn't make that much sense. Kitchens is the thrower. Faust is the runner.
Nice kick. A little bit better by Stockton. Isaac with the fair catch. Watch Rivalry Weekend on ESPN next Saturday, 12:30. Steve Sarkisian and #10 BYU battle their in-state foe, Utah. Always a big one in the WAC. Then at 7:30, a classic. #20 Auburn, #8 Alabama. This year's version of the Iron Bowl. Start your day off at 11:30, College Game Day. Keep ESPN tuned in at 3:37 and 10:30 for the Residents in College Football Scoreboard Show.
And how strange to think right this second, Dave, it's a possibility that the Iron Bowl and both participants could be coming off losses. Who'd have thunk that?
Dennis McKinley powers his way for about 5. He carried it in the first half only once, but he gouged out 20 yards.
He might be somebody bucking for a little more playing time.
Making a pretty good case for himself.
I was about to say something my mother told me never to say, but I'm going to say it right now. He came to play.
Your mother knew what she was talking about.
She's cringing right now. Please don't say that. No, he came to have lunch. Of course he came to play.
Those defensive coaches have to be delighted with what they've seen. Nice burst through the middle by Isaac. I think they turn him away about a foot shy of the first down marker, which is just across midfield. But will set up 3rd and very short. Buckner and Myers combining on the tackle.
Oh, Dave, to echo that thought, I would have to say that the offensive coaches at Mississippi State can't be too unhappy either. Up by a point, they've been able to run the ball effectively against one of, if not the best defense in the nation.
Now, keep in mind, the Bama defense, as you look at that total, 83 yards for Isaac, they average giving up only 90 rush yards per game. Best in the SEC, 8th in the country. And I don't know if they get it on this 3rd down dive attempt. It's going to be very close, possibly close enough to measure. McKinley, well, actually, McKinley stretches across the 50. I don't know if they need to change after all.
The official has a 4th down.
Oblivious to it all. Just a nice night to have a breeze in your face.
Derrick Taite did a smart thing right there. He asked the official to go with the measurement. Now, if Taite was smart, he'd sprint to the sidelines right now to get with the coach to decide what it is they want to do, if indeed they are going to go for it. This would be the time to get over and save yourself a timeout if you make the decision.
Couple of feet. And so Taite will get the signal from the sideline. And no question, they go for it.
Now, This is funny because I was telling you about the 30-yard line, and you were saying that was amazing. The way the Mississippi defense has been playing and the way the Alabama offense has struggled, I'm not sure I do this here. I think you might want to kick.
Well, no hesitation on the state sideline. Let's see if it works. First man through. Should have it, I think, on the second effort, depending on where they mark down. Nakia Greer. Hood made a head-on hit, but it is a first down for Greer and the Bulldogs.
Really a gutsy call. They went with the exact same play that got stuffed the time before, able to get just enough. It's a good-looking surge now right there. If he cuts to the outside, he probably would have made it a lot easier. He had his head down, but the right side of the offensive line of Mississippi State did an excellent job. McCann and Hicks blew their people off.
Right again through the middle. They go to the water bug back, Isaac. Upended after a couple. Boy, a throwback, not quite as conservatively played as the last Bulldog win in this series, 6-3 in 1980, which we discussed a little bit in the first half. But as conservative a game as we've seen this year on both sides. As you see Kitchens evidently preparing to that last return to the game, or at least trying to keep prepared in case.
Well, those of you that are watching college football earlier in the day remember a similar situation with Virginia. After an interception for a touchdown, they benched their starter, brought him back in, and led to victory.
Taite to Greer, who slips and falls at the 45. Coming up later in the game, we will be selecting the Visa players of the game.
Greer not very happy with himself. Good open field tackle on the part of Samuel, one-on-one. He really thought he was going to get a little bit more out of that. Misdirection play off the counter boot, try to get the ball to the fullback underneath in the flat and let him move, but not able to get much yardage there. And now 3rd and 6.
One of the results of a fairly conservative plan. Derrick Taite 90 straight without an interception. 7 of 17 for 82 yards and a score tonight. Turn in for Jeremy Jones is incomplete. That's the second time he's had one in the hands of Jones. One very early, and this one in front of Townsend, who is amused at it all.
Well, in fairness to Jones, the ball was thrown very hard and it was very high, and he had that man hammer him in his lower back. So, you know, tough situation there.
It's 4th and 6. We'll see what Wyatt has in mind this time.
Oh.
What he has in mind is the same thing as the last 4 times.
Well, no wonder Russ is able to keep his average.
Great up and down job. Fair caught 15 by Townsend.
Russ only has to do the long distance punting.
30-yarder by Matt Wyatt. And in 35 seconds, for what it's worth, and I'm not sure it's worth all that much tonight, Alabama will have the wind at their back, but they've thrown it so seldom and so erratically. May not be a big factor. Watch Rivalry Weekend next Saturday on ESPN2 at 12:30. Number 21 Virginia Tech tackles rival West Virginia. Then a Carolina clash at 5:30. South Carolina and red-hot Clemson. And at 8:30, the Pig is at stake. Iowa and Minnesota battle for Floyd of Rosedale. Shaun Alexander. Floyd of Rosedale, one of the long-standing traditional trophies in the Big Ten, but in this case, a live trophy.
I'm surprised there. When Kitchens was warming up, I was under the assumption that's what they're going to do. He's going to come over and chat about it because the quarter is over with. But certainly that's what the doctor had ordered, I thought, earlier. I mean, Alabama never even came close to getting to midfield, and as witnessed by those particular statistics, only 28 yards in the quarter. Great job by the Bulldog defense.
So Gene Stallings will have to come from behind. It's been a staple of his Alabama career. Got to do it again to wrap up the West. 1 quarter to go. Scott Field in kind of a mood of anticipation. 14-13, not much happened in that 3rd quarter. Dave Barnett, Todd Christensen, Pam Ward. We begin the 4th with a 2nd down and 1 for Faust and the Crimson Tide. Limited to 27 total yards in the 3rd quarter. And looking for their first down of the 2nd half. Shaun Alexander hit for no gain. Well, in a mood to reminisce is Pam Ward. Pam?
That's right, Dave. A lot of Bulldog fans have to be thinking back to 1980 in Jackson, Mississippi. 2 Dana Moore field goals here for the Bulldogs. Put them up 6-3 over Bama, riding a 28-game win streak. Bama fumbled the ball 4 times, including this one with just 6 seconds left in the game. Mississippi State held on to win it 6-3. Bama's won 15 straight since, but 14 minutes and 44 seconds away from another upset, perhaps? Dave?
Perhaps. 37 of 38. Alexander breaks a couple of arm tackles and may break this one the whole way. They run him down at the 36. Boy, they've been waiting for that one. 40-yard burst by the man that sprinted his way into the tied record book a week ago.
Well, one of the things in talking with some of the Alabama people at the halftime, they said, take a look. Take a look at Alexander. He's going to bust one. I can feel it. But when he gets that kind of blocking and right down the middle, Alexander shows not just the speed, but the power. Look at him just run through the arms of the Mississippi State defenders. Picks up a block from Buchanan downfield, but there's a young man as a redshirt freshman that has a lot of yards ahead of him.
Toss it to him again. Garner and Lindsey on the hit. Stallings calling on the 6'1", 205-pounder with fullback size but sprinter speed.
Well, as you mentioned last week, he had 2 runs of over 70 yards. He's somebody that can break them the distance, and that makes you nervous, obviously, if you're a defensive coordinator. Somebody that you have to hem between the tackles, but in that case, the Bulldogs did not do it.
Trevor Smith with just his second carry tonight. He's inside the 30.
Of course, the natural question to ask from that is why that didn't occur in the third quarter. Not necessarily the long run, but at least the opportunities from Alexander, who, if I'm not mistaken, only had 1 carry in the third stanza.
You know, though, I have to bring this up. You were the same guy who was earlier in the season saying, what about that Riddle? Get that Dennis Riddle on the field.
Well, but whoever is the tailback. I mean, in the third quarter, they didn't, you know, for some reason they wanted Faust to be throwing all of these passes, which made no sense.
Yeah, that part of the game plan has not worked. This part is a different story. Alexander crashing through Garner should have the first. When in doubt, go back to the old-fashioned Alabama smash mouth. And when you've got practitioners like Shaun Alexander, generally the results are good. They will move the chain.
Well, this drive is creating the feeling amongst the Mississippi State faithful as to how costly that 1 turnover was. Down at the 15-yard line, 2nd and 1. Had a lot of good things coming their way, or so it appeared. And the miscommunication between Tate and Isaac now looms very large.
Offset eye, still on the ground. Shaun Alexander unable to cut this one back for much. Paul LaCoste has him after a gain of perhaps 2.
LaCoste has what's known as a nose for the football. If he's not making the tackle, he's certainly around the play. And, of course, as you pointed out, Joe Lee Dunn puts him in that position where you can't find him.
Injured Bulldog. Tim Nelson, true freshman free safeties man getting some attention.
Of course, he's had to come up and make some tackles. He hasn't played the normal center field where you're defending a lot against the pass.
So I take it you are surprised we haven't seen Kitchens at all this half?
I am, just because of the fact of the magnitude of this particular game. And even though he has struggled, I would think that in this situation you want experience out on the field, even if he has not been as effective.
Well, again, if you weren't with us in the first half, the last time we saw Freddie Kitchens on the field, he threw a rather ugly interception to McGill, which turned into a touchdown for State. And it's been Faust show the rest of the way. Tim Nelson hopping up, appears to be okay. Warren Faust has had action off and on this year, but came in having thrown only 10 passes all season. Tonight, just 1 of 4 for 12 yards. Kitchens, when he departed, 5 of 9 for 54, and the interception. So very little from either man through the air tonight for the tie. Option pitch. Alexander had to stop, and that's never a good sign. When the tailback's got to wait on the pitch, it's probably going nowhere, and it gave LaCoste time to come up.
Bulldogs anticipated it. Take a look breaking through there is Garner, and you're right. Once he has to stop, LACOSTE is able to come off his block and drop him for about a 1-yard loss. Now the pressure is on Faust, not only to possibly pick up the first down, but they need to get a few more yards because, as we pointed out, the kicking travails of Alabama continue. And if he doesn't do anything here, a 42-yarder is hardly a lock.
Yeah, even with the win, they've got a very inexperienced kicker. They'd rather not put it in his hands. Slant in, incomplete, intended for West.
You know, in that situation, Dave, easy to second guess, obviously, but because you have the great running quarterback, why not go with the quarterback draw? 11.5 minutes left in the game. You got a great runner who can scramble around, maybe get you 4 or 5 yards, get you in a better situation now. Difficult situation. 42, 43-yard field goal coming up.
John Brock missed an extra point, which could have tied the game late in the first half. 2 for 2, but the longest is just 30 this year. This is a 42-yarder. Plenty of leg and drilled it.
Wow. And that's about as animated as you'll see Gene Stallings. I think he really took a risk there. As a young man that has not kicked a field goal longer than 30 yards, Brock, cool as the other side of the pillow. Forgive me, Stuart. 3 points for Alabama.
Alabama at last is in front, 16-14, 42-yard field goal by John Brock. With the wind at his back during the break, the wind died down to almost nothing. Now it's howling again, and William Watts doesn't need much wind. More than half his kickoffs this year have been touchbacks. John Brock's an interesting story. He began his college career at Pacific and was there 3 years. They dropped football, so he was, as happens in those cases, afforded the immediate transfer. The funny thing about his career at Pacific, he never attempted a kick there. And he finds himself with a game on the line kicking for the number 8 team in the country. We'll have an indication against Mississippi State here. But the reason that Stallings likes Brock and has left Brian Cunningham home, he gets the ball higher, quicker, and they've had some blocks. They have had some misses, and Brock, given the chance to shine today, even though he missed the extra point in the first half, comes through with no question the biggest kick of his life.
I'm telling you, it looked to me like his face was starting to hurt. He was smiling so broad.
And that gentleman cracked a smile too.
Yeah, he did.
That decision to leave one guy at home sometimes can backfire big for a head coach, but in this case appears to have made the right call.
By the returning team, which will be penalized 10 yards from the 35-yard line.
So the Bulldogs down 2 with 11 minutes and 22 seconds to go.
A little bit of confusion on the field. You saw that they had refused it, and now the official says that they took it.
Well, the Bull picture can come a little bit more into focus as the slots in the various conferences are locked up here late in the season. The SEC, of course, has Florida pointing toward, they hope, a national championship showdown. They got to go through Alabama or whomever they happen to meet in the SEC title game first, as well as Florida State in the regular season. Citrus will have the runner-up, the Peach, the Outback, and the Independent also holding slots for potentially that group of SEC representatives this year.
Interesting situation that we have out here on the field. You saw everybody, including Gene Stallings, say refuse the penalty, let him start at the 20 because he kicked it out of the end zone. Instead, I'm thinking that one of the players must have said we'll take the penalty. So now they're going to kick off from the 45, and because it wasn't the field of play, that's why they do it, as opposed to moving it back 10 yards on the return. So I'm interested here as to whether or not he's going to blast out of the end zone or maybe kick it short and see if they can pin him inside the 20.
Nope, look out, photographers. No, as it turned out, even they weren't in danger. He flew even the group of cameras that stand about 5 yards beyond the end zone. That's one of the strongest legs in college football.
That falls, you know what, Phil, that falls under the heading of completely unnecessary. When everybody had said refuse the penalty, but they ended up having to do it anyway.
Kentucky wins again. They have not lost since the announced ouster of Bill Curry. Duke still winless. Missed a great shot today at Wake Forest. So now the Bulldogs from their 20. Lahidi Grant went in motion. Taite rolling to his left and spots the open tight end Reginald Kelly barreling up the side, cutting back, and Kelly may take it. $70 yards before he's run down by Kevin Jackson. You bet he's winded. Just his 5th catch of the year.
It's funny, he grabbed his heart right there and said, I'm tired, but I've got enough energy to jump up and down. Misdirection here. They go with the counter boot. Tight end's going to come right across your face on the screen. There he is. Good throw by Taite. Gets in the ball. Now he gets one good block here by his wideout right there, tying up Townsend. Now he cuts back against the middle and picks up another block by his wideout to get him as far as he needed to go.
Isaac bounces out. Now back in and down to about the 7. Hit there by Samuel. Reginald Kelly had a total of 51 yards worth of receptions all season before he breaks that one for 70.
Well, what impressed me about that was his knowledge of the field and his running instincts. Very often you have tight ends that basically catch the ball and are looking for some place to fall down. Kelly, on the other hand, made some very nice cuts against the grain, almost went the distance. Obviously, you know, not with the breakaway speed, but that was an outstanding run.
Isaac breaks away, goes in motion. One-on-one with Jackson. Give to Greer, no gain, maybe one. By the way, Taite on that toss sets a new Mississippi State career record for completions, 350.
Well, he needs to get 351 here, and I say that only because it appears, I don't want to think this, that they're just playing for the field goal, but they've gone back into the habits that they had earlier in the first half, which was run twice, throw on third. Look what they did on a first down misdirection pass play. Why not do it down here? But now it's a little bit too late.
That's the kicker, Brian Hazelwood, who wouldn't mind kicking from right where they are because it's perfectly centered between the hash marks.
Now, interesting, Kelly was trying to get back in the game, but he wasn't able to do it.
Against an all-out blitz, Taite down at the 22. The biggest defensive play of the night, and it's turned in by Staten.
And now you're looking at a 40-yard field goal into the wind. Now, Hazelwood certainly has the leg, but again, the offensive people, you have to question that. Very predictable. Look at him coming. They have 8 guys coming here. Right in his face, he turns against it, but Staten is right there. And Staten drops him.
Hazelwood's best, 51 yards. This is a 39-yarder, but it is into the wind, which at the moment is not all that strong. And Hazelwood has this one through. Sophomore out of Clinton, Mississippi, and he puts Mississippi State back in front by 1. Well, Alabama hopes that Auburn game in terms of the SEC West is meaningless, but to make that happen, they've got to come from behind as they have each of the last 2 years against the Bulldogs. The 4-play drive, 52 yards. Hazelwood booted it through. Key play, the catch and run by Reginald Kelly, and it's 17-16. Jeff Walker keeps it low, and on a couple of hops, this is an interesting decision to say the least, because the Tide will take over after this return by Patrick Hape near the 42-yard line.
Boy, that kicker's having a hard time. Here's the big play once again. Reginald Kelly with a catch. Now, take a look at his instincts right here. Okay, he cuts upfield. Now, instead of waiting to get dragged down from behind, he cuts back against the grain. Now he's in the middle of the field, and dare I do it? Chris Berman, he's rumbling, stumbling. He could go all the way to the 10-yard line. Hey, but still, it set up a field goal. Mississippi State on top by 1 point with 8:45 remaining.
Well, look where Alabama takes over after the short kick. No gain on first down for Riddle. Gregory Favors was there.
If indeed it was intentional to squib kick like that, why kick to Patrick Hape, who obviously has outstanding hands? Now you put yourself in a position with the wind and the way Brock kicked that last one of basically being only about 30 yards before they could get into field goal position. It's a bad play on the part of Mississippi State special teams.
No gain, 2nd and 10. Both wideouts left side. Faust, play action, chased by Favors. Will step up and get sacked. A committee job. Favors joined by Terry Day.
Favors really impresses me, Dave, with his absolute persistence. He is relentless. Watch number 56. He's going to miss the sack here. Watch, he just goes out. Now look, he's out of the play, bumped by the fullback. Watch from behind who comes and helps on the play. There he is again. I tell you what, that 228-pounder is impressive.
Junior from Atlanta. Sack leader coming in. And no doubt going out of this game. 3rd and 14. Faust in the triple coverage. Interception number 2 by McGill. 𝐒𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬 brings it back to the Tide 45.
Very thing we were talking about, Dave. Freddie Kitchens may not be Joe Namath reincarnate. You saw him you saw Gene Stallings right there just whisper to 𝐒𝐭𝐚𝐭𝐽. I would guess that Kitchens has to be coming back in the game. 3rd and 14. You mentioned it. This young man's only thrown 10 passes. He throws it right into the heart of triple coverage, and 𝐒𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬, who had already picked one off earlier, does a great job of putting his body between the ball and Vaughn, and as a result gets the pick. Big turnover for Mississippi State inside midfield. Great job of playing the ball by McGill, who has 2 defensive touchdowns already this year, including a 99-yard return with a fumble.
Robert Isaac shows the outside speed. Close to a first down to the 35. Run down by Bryant right at the chain. Oh, they can smell it on the Bulldog sideline. 1980, the only time in the last 38 meetings between Alabama and MSU, the Bulldogs have come away winning.
And Dave, now the pressure shifts to Lynn Amedee, the offensive coordinator for Mississippi State. He cannot afford the luxury of some of the conservatism that he had. I'm not talking about throwing the ball up, but he needs to pick his spots here. He does have the wind, and they are in field goal position, or at least about 5 yards away because of the leg of Hazelwood. But I'm thinking here that Mississippi State not only has to take some time off the clock, but do not let Alabama in a position where they can get a big sack or a turnover here. I like, you know what? Forgive me for this filibuster, but right now, you see Lynn Amedee there.
That Alabama, actually Alabama coaching staff.
But here's a great opportunity, Dave. 2nd and very short. You're probably going to get it anyway. Great time right here for some play action throw.
Well, we've waited to see that all night, and they have resisted the temptation so far. Let's see here. Motion from Cameron Floyd, and again they stay conservative, and it works at least for the first down yardage. Rear to the 31. The SEC West as we began play. Work this way. Alabama looking to go 6-1, 9-1 overall. LSU 5-2 right behind them. Auburn losing in 4 overtimes to Georgia, drops to a 4-3 mark, 7-3 overall. Mississippi State bringing up the rear. They could make their season if they hang on to this opportunity, which has 6:23 remaining.
Dave, I'm going to sound a little bit corny here, but that's the way it goes. It just goes to show the resilience of the young people on the collegiate level. Last week, Alabama goes into the Lions' Den. Difficult place to play. LSU comes away with a very impressive victory, 26-0. Kentucky, a team that is not a very good football team. Mississippi State gets beat. You would think in this game what? This is a total blowout, and what happens? Jackie Sherrill rallies his troops. They're playing the best football arguably that they have all year tonight.
Well, we've seen this before, but so far it has not meant Kitchens is going back into the game.
I think at this point it's got to be no-brainer, because they're going to have to, more than likely, depending upon how much time they have left, they're going to have to throw the football.
Yeah, you just can't put an inexperienced quarterback in that position. You wouldn't think. Greer again, they just ram him into the line for 2 or 3 to the 26. Myers makes the tackle as time winds down. Both teams have all 3 timeouts remaining.
Now explain that to me. I just don't understand. 2nd down, your opportunity to do something besides go with the fullback in the middle. I just don't think certainly they have some confidence in Hazelwood, but come on.
Done it all night.
Well, they're ahead. What can I say?
They have run on the running downs.
I was waiting for you to say, how about less, Todd?
Timeout call by Derrick Taite. First of 3 for the Bulldogs. 4:59 remaining in a 1-point game in Starkville. Sellout crowd at Scott Field has seen a potential of perhaps the biggest victory this decade for Mississippi State, maybe the biggest in the last 16 years. They have led almost the whole way, and they're in position to add to a 1-point lead as we're under 5 minutes to go in the 4th quarter.
Comes the blitz.
3rd and 5 over the middle and incomplete.
Dwayne Rudd
low and behind the intended target.
Dwayne Rudd came on the blitz and knocked Taite down. That certainly affected him a little bit. He had an opportunity. Take a look at all the white shirts. Rudd's going to come from this side and knocks him down. He had the time.
Had a little
Just
crack.
couldn't deliver it.
Trey Belcher was open. But on again will come Brian Hazelwood. A little bit longer effort this time. He hit from 39. This will be 43. Rob Morgan, the holder.
Hooked it.
Never had a chance. So Alabama still within 1. 4:49 remaining. They have all 3 of their timeouts remaining. As we thought, Freddie Kitchens is back in at quarterback for Alabama. Takes over at the 26, 4:49 to play, trailing 17-16. Those were all in the first half. 5 of 9, 54 and an interception. And as was the case with Kitchens, Faust leaves after throwing one to McGill of Mississippi State. McGill makes the play here on the intended receiver, Michael Vaughn. I don't think there's much question who the defensive player of the night is for the Bulldogs. It's that man.
Well, certainly on the flip side, why would you keep wanting to go against McGill? Go to the other side where they've been having some struggles. McGill not buying the corner route. Look at the little fade inside. McGill says, no. I've seen that before. He almost picks this one off. McGill having an outstanding evening. Those are some tough people. Besides the obvious that they have to have amnesia, these are some people that have to be mentally strong.
Blitz look, give it on a draw, and Dennis Riddle is near the 40-yard line. He'll have the Tide first down. Pickup of 13. As this drive began, Tide, remarkable number. Half of Alabama's yardage tonight has come on first down. 2/3 of Mississippi State's yardage has come on first down. What do you make of that?
Gee,
not much happens after first down. Either way, maybe the predictable play calling shows up.
That could be. With that success, you ought to be a lot more conservative. Obviously, both coaches are very conservative.
Riddle is run down by Garner. Jackie Sherrills is probably our best overall defensive player. He's gone back and forth from end to linebacker where he started tonight. And that no gainer, 2nd and 10.
Well, the big players for the Mississippi State defense have stepped up tonight. You mentioned Garner, Favors, LACOSTE, and of course McGill. Playmakers all. They've done an outstanding job this evening.
See what I tell you, whichever way you go, you don't make the wrong decision with those two. They're both over 100.
But they've been doing it between the 20s.
Kitchens with the call at the line, and a no back set ends in a sack on the blitz by LACOSTE.
Kitchens gets a little bit confused, and so does the offensive line. LACOSTE is able to find the gap between guard and tackle. They just had too many bodies up there, and Kitchens not able to get it off.
Gene Stallings is still waiting for the first positive passing yardage this half by Bama. They have yet to throw for any passing yards since halftime. And they're coming again. Over the middle. And incomplete, intended for Calvin Hall.
Mississippi State really got away with one there. It appeared not only could they have possibly been offsides, but I don't understand when you've got 3rd and 16 why you'd want to blitz. rush 3-4 guys, put 7 or 8 in coverage, give them a 6-yard carry. If Kitchens is able to deliver that ball just a little bit farther, that's a first down for Alabama.
As it is, they'll have to kick on a 4th and 16. Hayden Stockton will send it to Isaac, waiting near his 30. Bulldogs play to set up the return. Excellent kick. Drives him back to the 23.
Now notice, if you notice Isaac, the way he ran the ball, very conservative. No need for the big return. You see the look on his face. He banged himself up. There's no way he wanted to cut to the outside and get the ball stripped. He was content to sit down in the middle of the field with the 1-point lead, let the offense come out and take over.
It's an NFC showdown. Is it ever on Monday Night Football? Brett Favre and the Packers. Troy Aikman and the Cowboys. As the Packers look to finally end their Texas Stadium jinx. Are the Cowboys for real? Find out. ABC Monday Night Football, 9 Eastern.
I think that falls under the heading of a big game.
As big as it will be this regular season. From the 28, Robert Isaac, no gain. Now the Tide defense, which came in 3rd best in the country, needing to force a quick 3-and-out by the Bulldogs. Tide with all 3 timeouts. Bulldogs have 2 as we go down to 2.5 minutes.
Let's get ahead a little bit. Pressure is going to be on Andy Russ. It's going to come down to him and to see if he can launch one of his long kicks. Because Mississippi State is going to be content, I would guess, here to either force them to utilize the timeout and to stay on the ground to give Kitchens as little time as possible. And then Russ's punt into the wind is going to be a big issue.
Well, Derrick Tate's going to use timeout number 2. And he takes it with 2:11 to play. State hanging on by 1 against number 8 Bama. One of the most one-sided series in college football may turn the other way at least once. Jackie Sherrill has never beaten his alma mater in 7 tries. He's 2 minutes and change away from finally breaking through.
Costly timeout there, though, Dave. If you find yourself in that situation, young quarterbacks, in this similar situation, just take the snap and go with the quarterback sneak. It doesn't matter that you get the yards. You just want to keep the clock running.
Chris Rainey went in motion as they again stay on the ground. Nakia Greer will run it under the 2-minute mark.
No, he won't.
Nope, they won't get it there.
Timeout.
They will not let it get there. Just as soon as we're done here, stay with us. Sports Center coming up with a full recap of all the day's college football action. The Lou Holtz situation, again, not denying reports when given the chance to, that he is headed out at Notre Dame. And look at the Chicago Bulls ongoing streak. One more timeout for the Bulldogs. 3 more for Alabama. Will it matter by the time Alabama gets a chance? Or 2 more for Alabama?
Well, once again, that timeout was just so costly because now the clock could be down to about 1:35, and certainly time is going to be of the essence for Alabama when they get the ball back. Now, do you take it now? Here's a question for you. Do you take a chance here with play action with Mississippi? Well, what am I saying? I've been asking for that
all game. Covered that.
There's no way that's going to happen now on 3rd down. Just as I say that, they're going to do the exact same play that got Kelly the big yardage, right? Okay, I'm not predicting. Boy, this has been exciting. Gene Stallings made a very good point to us yesterday with regards to the fact that he said, hey, you know what? The Memphis-Tennessee game, that's one of the reasons why we're not taking Mississippi State for granted. Memphis is going to live off that for a very long time. He says if Mississippi State were to upset us, they would be able to live off of that one for a very long time. And they're 2 minutes and 4 seconds away from doing just that.
They need 9 here. 3rd down. Staten coming on a blitz, picked up nicely though, and Tate will keep and fall at the 38, the original line of scrimmage, cut down there by Samuel, and Alabama will burn timeout number 2 with 1:54.
But that's a good call. You try and get the secondary back. Tate had no intention whatsoever of throwing the ball. Good play by Alabama to get him down. But Mississippi State had the right idea.
Mississippi State's been pretty well in charge of this thing all night. The only lead Alabama's had was briefly 16-14 after a field goal by John Brock. Izell McGill has had 2 interceptions for Mississippi State. They led 14-13 at the half. Go-ahead points came on a field goal of 39 yards by Brian Hazelwood. And it's been basically ball control, defense dominated, old-fashioned SEC type struggle tonight, as would be fit to disciples of the Bear. Stallings and Sherrill squaring off for the 6th year in a row in SEC play, and the first chance that Sherrill has if they hang on to this win. No doubt he will sprint across and shake hands with the man that once coached him as an assistant under Bear Bryant in the mid-60s. Well, they've got some business to take care of in the meantime, and first is the upcoming punt by the 2nd leading punter in the country, Andy Russ. It will come into the wind. Michael Vaughn waiting at the 25. And the Tide playing strictly for the return. They don't send anybody. Very low kick, huge bounce.
He got a break. Boy, did he get a break. He fumbles the snap, gets it up, and because of the low ball, Vaughn not able to come up and make the play. And as a result of rolling on the ground, it also takes up valuable time.
And it goes 50 yards.
Russ gets a big break. The snap is right there. He just drops it. No excuse. Fortunately for them, Alabama is in there. Another funny drop. As a punter, you don't want it end over end, but the short man for Alabama is telling everybody to get away. Well, that's fine if you get away, but when that 25-yard roll comes, boy, big-time break for the Bulldogs.
One timeout left. Kitchens goes to work. Almost intercepted by LACOSTE. Intended for Chad Goss, and Alabama still has not thrown for positive pass yardage on any play in the second half. Faust has been the quarterback most of the way in the second half. Was it too late to get Kitchens back in? We'll see.
Very good question, because you sit there and you get cold, and all of a sudden you're supposed to come in and salvage the game. Boy, that's asking an awful lot.
And this is a set you don't see much from the Tide. 4 wide outs. Riddle the only setback. This one is complete to Hall, immediately driven back by Bᴜʟʟᴅ.
He's a little bit short of the first down, and so Alabama doesn't get the luxury of getting together and huddling up. They're taking a little bit too much time.
Clock continues to roll as they get ready for a 3rd and 3. Kitchens complete, and breaking through is Marcel West to the 45 of Mississippi State. They finally hit a pass, and it goes 25 yards.
Well, the total yardage up to that point for Alabama in the entire second half had been only 54 yards, and so that is a big play. Joe Lee Dunn has to wonder what his approach is. Do I stay with what got me here with the blitzes, or do I go a little bit soft?
4 wides again. Again, no pressure. Hall along the side. Got to wrap him up. And they do at the 37-yard line.
Hall does a great job of getting the ball out of bounds, because if they drop him there, more than likely Alabama would have had to use their timeout, because it would have bled off another 15 seconds on the clock. Now with the wind, of course, we really don't know what Brock's range is, because we haven't seen him enough. And as you pointed out, 3 years of not having kicked. He did hammer that one from 42. My guess is they've got to get at least inside the 30.
With this wind, and just based on how strong that 42-yarder was, 50 at least, I would guess, is his range. Well, they're not quite there yet. 50 seconds to go. Kitchens at last pressured, steps up, though, and it's deflected. And not intercepted, incomplete. Bᴜʟʟᴅ made a dive, and they say he did not come up with it. Well, the hat went flying from Sherrill. Oh, so close for Adesela Bᴜʟʟᴅ.
Take a look. Good job of picking up there. Riddle gets Garner out of the way. Kitchens steps up. The ball gets batted. Now see if he gets his hands underneath the ball. That's the big question. You slow it down. Good call by the official. The ball did indeed hit the ground. Right between the hands of number 25, Adesela Bᴜʟʟᴅ. Excuse me.
Shovel pass, markers down. It goes for a loss if the play stands.
Well, one of the things that looked like to me was that LACOSTE was offsides, but the referee also threw a flag. And so I'm guessing it's going to be nullified.
Motion against Alabama. Royal Jackson, the referee, sorting it out. Paul LaCoste indicating they are thinking they're going to decline it. That was on a 3rd and 1. Here's Doyle.
That was illegal motion by the offense, which is declined, 4th down.
Boy, that's a huge play. Absolutely huge play. Gene Stallings, you see, trying to get the attention. He wants a timeout because he wants to talk about it. But Kitchens is looking in the other direction.
Well, they get a call, though. Wide receivers Hall and West both saw it.
But you're right. Kitchens had his back to Gene Stallings. Boy, oh boy, I don't understand, given that situation, why they didn't run.
Final timeout called by Bama. Today's Visa Players of the Game. For Mississippi State, the man who has 2 picks tonight, a couple of tackles, Izell McGill. And for Alabama, Dennis Riddle, another 100-yard day on 19 carries, 103 yards.
Let me also mention a close runner-up for Mississippi State would have to be Paul LaCoste with 18 tackles and a sack.
As part of their continuing effort to further the development of amateur athletes, Visa proud to donate $1,000 to each of these universities on behalf of Izell McGill and Dennis Riddle. Sports Center coming up. 38 seconds to go in Starkville.
With the 1 timeout that you had remaining, and you have 3rd and 1 as effectively as you run the ball, and the fact that they had people that were going to be 4, 6, however many in the box with their 4 wide receiver set, I'm questioning as to why they didn't run in that situation. Because they get the 1st down, then call timeout anyway. Instead, now they go with that risky Utah pass. They get the penalty and step back 4 yards. Now they have to have a 4th down conversion.
Matchup to watch, perhaps top of your screen. Vaughn guarded by McGill on 4th and 3. Kitchens guns it. Incomplete.
It appeared that West might have had a shot at making the catch. Kitchens, once again, Riddle steps up with the good block. Kitchens has the hook pattern, throws across his body. West just can't come up with it. That was a catchable ball. But is Jackie Sherrill a happy man? For the first time in his coaching career, he's going to defeat Alabama. Boy, oh boy, is he emotional.
That is a man who's been under more than a little heat this year. Because they were 3-8 last year. They have the potential to go 3-8 this year. It's not going to happen because of what will be the biggest victory for Mississippi State without question in the 90s and maybe all the way back to 1980, the last time they pulled this off.
Well, just the fact that we were showing that game would seem to indicate how significant it was. I mean, we brought in the tape and everything else. His young daughter Bonnie, who sang the national anthem, hugging her dad. Boy, oh boy, they're going to party in Starkville tonight.
Starting right now. Alabama will fall to 8-2. Still some doubt in the SEC West race. Mississippi State with the upset of the decade for Jackie Sherrill. They knock off Alabama.
May not be Holyfield Tyson, but it's darn close.
And so long, goalposts. For Pam Ward and Todd Christensen, Dave Barnett saying goodnight from Starkville, where Mississippi State knocks off number 8 Alabama, 17-16. Up next, Sports Center with Gary Miller and Linda Cohn. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports.